Man like Mark Sullivan, the warrior self. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Bead. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Hey, what's up, all you Snowboard Project listeners? A lot of you know and some of you don't, but we just sent out our sticker packs to all our supporters on Patreon just in time for you to slap a sticker on your new board. You sponsor us, and we're going to give you so much great content just about real life in snowboarding. But hey, if you haven't checked out patreon.com/The Snowboard Project, you can sponsor us and help us keep bringing you all this great content. We are talking about so much this month. We are talking about snowboarding bottom line. 2, we are talking about life experiences through snowboarding. We have a weekly news show and we just bullshit and keep it real in the snowboard industry. We are talking not just about tricks. This is bigger than that. This is about experiencing snowboarding for what it is, the adventure, the friendships, the progression on the mountain and off the mountain in life, following your passion in whatever aspect of snowboarding you happen to love. This podcast is snowboarding and making the most of every single day in snowboarding. So please visit us on patreon.com/The Snowboard Project and help us keep bringing you all these great stories from snowboarders just like you.
Welcome back to the Snowboard Project. I'm Mark Sullivan.
And I am the Beeve, and we are coming at you from
gondola number 45 here at Sun Valley.
Yeah.
We're in the gondola right now.
Yeah, we are in the gondola. We figured we'd try something different for today's episode.
Yes.
Coming at you live from our day shredding.
Yeah, we're actually going riding right now. We have a very special episode for you today.
Oh, yeah? Who is it? Who do you have?
DCP.
What?
DCP, David Carrier Porcheron.
All right.
Yeah.
French-Canadian.
Yep, and
right?
He's been a pro for 24 years, helped start Yesnowboards, and he's ridden all over the world. One of the only guys to film with Whitey, Absinthe, and Mack Dawg. Had parts in all of those movies, probably 40-plus video parts over the span of his career.
It's pretty sick that he's had a career that long and been in that many films. So.
I know, right? We talk about all sorts of different subjects, the mind game, the longevity of the game,
right,
and all points in between. So It's a pretty good interview, but I think we should roll into it because we're actually getting right to the top right now. We're going to have to cut this off short.
All right, let's do this quick. Episode 43 coming at you.
DCP.
So today I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the French-Canadian DCP. How you doing, David?
I'm good, Mark. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Just just enjoying my evening here. It's evening where both of us are. So I understand that you worked today. Were you up at Whistler?
No, today I went up to Whistler. I just delivered boards for team riders from Yes and visited a couple of stores. And got my season pass for Whistler. That's opening tomorrow. And then, yeah.
Cool. So do you have a fun family day ahead of you tomorrow?
The kids are at school. We tried to pull our daughter out of school for tomorrow, but she doesn't want to go out of school tomorrow. There's not enough.
Oh. Well, only a holiday in America, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. But
okay.
we are going to have a party on Saturday at our house for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be able to take some friends, and so that'd be good.
Cool. Okay, well, I'd like to talk to you about a number of different subjects, but probably the best place to begin is in the beginning, or at least close to the beginning anyway. So you come from Quebec, right? Where in Quebec did you grow up?
So, I grew up in Chicoutimi, Quebec. So that's 2 hours northeast of Quebec City.
Okay, and what was your local hill growing up?
It's called Le Val Noir, so it's very French. And
very French.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 350 meter high. It was always 100% natural snow, and so it was always pretty fun, but very tough to build any like park feature or anything. So we were always like building our own thing, which made it pretty cool. And
yeah, but you guys did not have a half pipe, did you? If you had natural snow.
Yeah, no pipe, no jumps, no artificial snow. So basically, just very crazy microclimate that just gave us a lot of powder growing up. So that we were lucky for that. Minus 40 and powder.
Wow! Wow! So you learned how to dress warm and to shred POW at the same time.
Totally. And
okay. And so when you first came on my radar is like probably competing in half pipe events. How did you learn how to ride half pipe so well?
So like back then we were, that was probably like 93 or 94 when I first rode a half pipe. But before that, we were like starting to watch the movies and really wanting to ride pipe. So we heard of a provincial circuit of competition in Quebec that they had an half pipe in Montcalm in Rimouski, this other resort, about 7-hour drive from where we live. So we registered and we drove there a day before the event so that we could partake in the final shaping of the pipe. It was like hand-shaped, and then we took part of the event, and then that was the first time we rode pipe, but also first competition of the circuit that we joined. And then we would just like travel around Quebec to each event to just so that we could ride pipe, basically, because we didn't have one where we grew up.
So when you say we, is this collective we? Is this the 418 crew that you're talking about? Guys like David Aubry and Etienne Tremblay, and I'm not sure. Who was your crew back then? Who were the guys you were riding with?
Yeah, well, I guess, that was those guys. That's through like the first few times I went to the competition with those guys, but they were older, so I just hadn't met them. I was hanging out with their young brothers or little brothers, and then we were like probably like 4 or 5 years younger than them, and so they just kind of took us along with them on all those trips, and then eventually the 418 crew was formed a few years later in '99.
So who was the 418? Who was that actual crew? Who were those guys?
So like 418 was the area code from Chicoutimi and Quebec City from where we were from. So that's where that came from, the 418 crew. It originated with Emmanuel Krebs, who was from Quebec City, was like a Canadian legend snowboarder at the time. He was also a designer, team manager from Limited Snowboards, and so much. He had so much in snowboarding that we could learn from. Did so much. He was willing to. Anyways, he was kind of like leading the crew in terms of like helping us with media opportunity and things like that. At that moment, all we wanted to do is ride, so he was trying to get us in the bags. And anyway, so it was David Aubry, Gabriel Autier, Etienne Tremblay, then Fabien Duchesne, Guy Duchesne, Yann Roy, GS Song. Those were all the 418 crew, and we ended up doing, and Guillaume Brochu. We ended up doing like all-pipe camps and lots of travel together, and it was pretty fun.
And so did you guys all move out to Whistler together, or did you guys kind of all separately go out to Whistler and end up there?
I think like we kind of like around 96, 95 and 96, that's when we first all went to Whistler. Got a job as diggers, and we're riding every day there. And then all went back for each past time. and I think that's when I got to chance for the first and more Canadian and maybe more.
Hey, you're breaking up on me. Did you move or did something change?
No, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
I didn't move.
Okay. Just trying to keep the audio tight. I was instructed to make sure my audio is tight.
Sure.
So that's okay. That's okay. So you guys all moved out to Whistler. Were you already sponsored at this point? Were you riding for Burton back then when you first moved to Whistler, or did you get picked up by Burton when you moved to Whistler, or how did that happen?
I started riding for Burton in '94 after doing a season of competition where I did pretty good. Mm-hmm. The local rep hooked me up, and then shortly after, Burlington office took care of me. Yeah, when I moved to Whistler the first time in '96, I was already a sponsored rider for Burton. Then I made my way to Mount Hood for the first time. That was that year. I paid as a camper and came there for one week session. I cascade for pipes, and so that was pretty exciting. It was the summer that they were filming Subject Atkinson, and Danielle and Carrier were riding the pipe during the session I was there. So that was very influential for me to like ride with those guys and see those guys in the flesh at that moment of, you know.
Right. But back then you seemed like you were like pretty well focused on riding half pipe. Were you like, was that kind of your direction back then, like to be a great half pipe rider?
Yeah, I really enjoyed riding half pipe back then, and I was getting better at it, and then, you know, more and more that we rode, and we had the opportunity to like to ride in the fall and then do all the World Cup series, and then end up riding pipe all year at all winter in Mount Saint Anne and competing, ending up at U.S. Open and West Beach Classic, and then summer camp riding pipe. So it was kind of like a year long, and we just loved doing it. And when I say we, it's just because like I never rode pipe alone, so it's always with them.
Yeah, and it was with the 418 crew, all those guys you kind of grew up riding with, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And Daniel Mignot was part of it too. I traveled with him a lot. And Guillaume Morissette competing. But also like guys like Russ Powers and Mike Makelchuk for a while. I traveled with those guys with Burton.
Right.
And always like it was just always fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and so, like, what was your, was your first photo published from riding half pipe? Did you start getting media coverage as you're doing these World Cups and all of that? Or how did you start getting into, like, magazines and movies and stuff?
Well, yeah, I guess the first photo was the photo that first got published was in Snowboard Canada, a Derek Catella photo. And I remember it being from the U.S. Open Outpipe contest of 1996, and but then I got a photo in there, and then shortly after they also did a profile in that same magazine. And then from there, you know, I kept competing, but somehow I was linked with photographers on the road as well, and I was always loving to, you know, take as much opportunity as I could to ride the pipe. So like I was hiking fast and kind of like taking advantage of each moment of practice to just get better and just get more hits, and you know, so I think that some photographers, and it created some opportunity for me in that sense. I wasn't really doing that great in contests, but I always kind of was giving the extra effort because I kind of made me feel like that's what I wanted to do anyways. It was just like riding for the photos and for the movies and stuff like that.
Right. So in that crew of those guys you were riding with, like, who were the best guys? Like, who were the guys that you were like, oh man, I wish I could be? Were there guys that you were like, I wish I could be as good as him? Or were you kind of like one of the best, or like the best out of that crew of guys? Because I know everyone was sponsored by different different companies, and you were a Burton rider, but there were guys on Ride, and I don't remember all the brands they rode for, but it seems like that whole 418 crew were all hooked up and all kind of traveling and doing contests, like this little kind of this little clique of French Canadian riders who were always together.
Yeah, well, I think like that's kind of what was special about it, because we were all friends. We all were supported by different sponsors, and so we all had the chance to travel and get to the same events and photo shoots and whatnot. And I think that because we were such good friends, we were pushing each other a lot. Like, I think I was pushing certain guys; they were also pushing me. I think it was like mutual for everybody. I was really stoked to always watch Etienne Tremblay. He was the guy who was always pushing me to go faster and try to go bigger, because he was so good at that. And and also, like, you know, guys like Guy was so powerful and stylish, and you know, like, and
yeah.
And then, you know, also just like going to like this like U.S. Open and seeing like Guillaume Morissette win it and being like, whoa, okay, that's possible for one of us to like win the international contest, you know, like. So it was always a push, and I think that throughout that whole time, even like when we were at Blackcomb and just hiking the pipe or Mount Saint-Anne and just having sessions, it was always one trick after the next. Like, we always wanted to go bigger than the next guy, and so we always like hike 2 meters higher to try to go a foot higher. And then if somebody would crack a bigger method, it was like, oh, okay, I want to go bigger now. So then like you would like run back up and try to go bigger and do the same trick. And it was very fueling to have that crew going up, for sure.
Right. So what was the secret to going big in the half pipe? Like, how would you turn it up every time? Like, how would you go? Would you just drop in with more speed and be like, okay, here we go? Or was there like something you were doing to keep pushing your limit in the half pipe?
Just like we really tuned our board every night. we maintain our board, like, our edges and our base very tuned up, first of all, because like,
okay, not everyone did that back then.
It's like the faster you go, the higher you can go, right? So
right.
And then I would say like we would always try to ride the wall and drop in with as much speed as possible, or if we had the chance, we would even like hike, I don't know, 100 feet higher up in the slope and come in full speed into those like drop in and go as fast as we could into them, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you ever win any of those contests? Did you ever win a World Cup or a Open or any of those big West Beach Classics? Did you ever win any of those in pipe?
I got on the podium.
Okay.
I think it was like the Sims Invitational World Championship here in Whistler this one year.
Yep.
I think I got third place, and I got like mid-mini finals. Never really a big win, but like European Open and slope style, I think, but not in pipe. Pipe, I was like, I always made final, or I was on the, you know, I won a lot of provincial and continental Canadian contests, but not so many like big ones, but always kind of like top 10, you know, kind of like shy of making it further, because I was like falling, because I gave it almost everything in practice. I don't know. It was kind of like my style, I guess. But
right, you would win practice. Who cares about the contest? I'm winning practice today.
It almost seemed like that in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's fine, because that was always good. That was always fun.
Yeah. And then you moved to Whistler. How did you like make that transition from being this guy who was competing and traveling the world doing like contests basically to being a guy who knew about the backcountry and avalanche conditions and how to ride a snowmobile and, you know, how to drop cliffs? Like, how did you make that transition? What was that like?
I feel like it was like also part of the evolution of moving to the West Coast and being exposed to those mountains and all those possibilities. And when I was riding here for the West Beach Classic, and I think like in '97, this company wanted to film with me during that contest, and they wanted me to stay for the spring, to go filming, which we did. And from that moment on, they just, took me with them in the backcountry. Either we were hiking beyond Blackcomb, or we ended up at Mount Baker in the spring. And then following year, I guess like in the year 2000, I bought a sled. That was the first time. And yeah, so I think that because I was there and supported by those companies and at almost like the right place at the right time in a way. Also the will to be there, but I was exposed with people that had more experience and that did that for the last few years here in the Whistler backcountry. And so a lot of mentors really, like Alan Clark and Kel Stevens and Matt Domensky and guys like that. And then,
I was going to say, so like JF Pelchat and Martin Gallant, they kind of were out in Whistler before you. Did they take you under their wing, or were they like, oh no, we're the French Canadians here?
No, actually, totally. That was the next thing is then, I always looked up to those guys, in the movies, because I already was watching those guys when I was moving to Whistler. Then I got to meet them when they were here. But they were not from where I grew up. They were like 5 hours away. So that was kind of like different crews growing up, even in the provincial contest scene, But then I got to meet them here, and obviously Martin started the Gathering production, which also was something he wanted to help out the young Quebec riders to make a place in snowboarding for themselves. And I think that was it was kind of like his model for the movie. And so he produced a few of those, like 2 or 3 at least. So that was always very fun. And so, yeah, he was always giving back and a very big part of that inspiration and knowledge passing in the backcountry. Those guys in Gaetan, Chenu, and that whole crew of, they were doing Mack Dawg at that moment when we were doing the smaller movies, and then just kind of like moving along. Just a pretty good evolution. Yeah.
There's quite a few French-Canadian riders who've actually made quite a splash. When you guys are in the backcountry together, are you speaking French or English?
It depends, if there's one person that speaks English, we usually all speak English. But then again, sometimes, there'll be something that we want to express real quick and it just comes out in French, especially back then. At first, we all didn't really speak English that well. And
some of you still don't speak English very well.
Totally. Well, yeah, exactly. And, imagine like 15 years ago or more where we first moved there. And so now we're hanging out and we're, speaking within each other. And now everybody's like, whoa, are those guys talking behind our back? What's going on? Like, I remember having that from the English community here of riders, like, whoa, what's up with those guys? Just moved from the East Coast, and what they're doing? Like, they're talking behind our back, and they think they're better than us. And
Cale Stevens confronts you. Cale Stevens confronts you. Like, what are you saying about me?
There was a few of those guys at first, like Dennis Bannock and those guys. They didn't really understand what we were up to, and we were just having fun. There was nothing we would say behind their back at all. We were just like talking shit of each other, But it's pretty funny,
Hey, what's up, Snowboard Project listeners? I know you're probably sitting on the couch or in the car or somewhere with another friend of yours who is also a snowboarder who is sitting there scrolling on his phone, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and he has no idea what a podcast is. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the challenge. You need to walk over to your friend, grab his phone, scroll down and find that little purple podcast button that he has no idea has never opened, and I want you to press it. And you are going to do him the biggest favor of his life right now. You are going to subscribe him or her to the Snowboard Project, and then you're going to rate us 5 stars, and you're going to throw him his phone back and say, you're welcome. They get to listen every week to to 3 different stories, a couple from, other snowboarders just like them, or maybe an industry person that will give them the great information they want to know about design, or maybe about, marketing themselves, or maybe about just snowboarding and being a competitive snowboarder. And you're also going to get news, and news that's not just past the, next 180 or the 1620. You are going to hear things about the adventure, the friendship, and you are going to hear about the experiences of doing what you love, which is snowboarding. Hit the purple button, subscribe him, rate us, hand the phone back, and say you're welcome.
At this point, you're filming with Martin, and you're in the backcountry now. Had Burton started like the 7 program? Like, were you on Burton 7 at this point, or when did that all start?
So, first with Burton, I did a few years riding the custom and promoting the Burton custom.
Yep.
And then we were all in Norway one year for when the making of Vivid was happening, Absinthe film. Burton was running this commercial up there. We had this huge jump with this big hip, big session with filmed by helicopter and all that. And then during that week, we had those meetings about creating something within Burton, and it was Romain, Gigi, JP, and I, and Jeffy Anderson, and that's when Unink started at Burton, and that's what I was part of. 7 with Chris Brown and Trevor Andrew and Jason Brown. That was that crew, and then Unink is what we had started with within Burton. Those guys. Yeah.
But you had already been in like Whitey movies, and you were already like what you would call like an A-list snowboarder at that point, because you were being featured in the biggest movies at that point.
Yeah, I guess. I was filming. I guess we got it like that. But yeah, I was pretty stoked for that. I started filming for Kingpin. Yeah, before the Unink. Yeah, so at that time, that trip, I was filming for Absinthe film. Actually, yeah.
Right. Right. Okay, but you had already done the DCP cliff at that point.
Well, that was that year. So that year, that spring we started, and then that summer we all went to New Zealand, and that's when we had we started Unink with the Kiss. We had like some Kiss graphic on the pigs. And then so that was that year, and that following winter is when we filmed Back in Black with Kingpin, and that's when all that stuff went down in Sonora Pass, and that was big. That was the first year of Unink. I think it was like 2001, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, up until that point, that was probably the biggest cliff ever filmed and stomped and tricked off of, right? I mean, that you did a backside 3 off. I saw you did like maybe you tried a 5 off of it as well. How many times did you hit it before you stomped it?
I went first, and I did the 5, and didn't land it, and then I went back a couple more times to try a 360 to make sure I landed it, and then I think it took a few tries, but 3 or I don't remember, not that many tries, because it was not that steep. The snow wasn't that good, but it was definitely.
But you were there for the shot.
Definitely,
right. Yeah. So what goes through your head when you're standing on top of a cliff like that? Because that was like a 60 to 80 foot cliff. I don't know how big it was exactly, but it was huge. What goes through your head when you're standing on top of something like that, and it's like, okay, no one's ever actually done something this big, and you're like, I got to do this, I got to land it. What's going through your head up there?
So at this point, it wasn't even like, because like we were riding with riders that were very pushing snowboarding, and in many different directions, in tricks innovation, or what the size of the jump or the size of the gaps, and whatever tricks we could do everywhere. And I was very lucky to be part of that crew. So to me, like even standing on top of that didn't even feel like like nobody's ever done something that big. It was just more like feeling of the energy of the people that was with those days in Sonora Pass, and kind of like wanting to progress each other and push each other. And we just happened to be spending a couple days in that zone, and we've been eyeing out that cliff. And then one morning it was like, okay, I'm going to just hit it. So we built it at sunrise and hit it at 7 a.m., like first thing in the morning.
Man.
So much of it. It was like, yeah.
So when you're on a photo shoot with all these guys who are like super good or whatever, are you trying to outride them, or are you just kind of like focused on your own riding? Like, are you really watching what tricks they're doing or landing, or are you just kind of in your own head and like, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and you're visualizing your own riding?
I guess for me, it always was like, I was always watching the other guys for sure, because I was always stoked to see their style and what they were doing, and that was getting me stoked on wanting to do actually what it was more about doing something different than the other guy, just because we were filming for a movie and we were a team filming for that movie, so we didn't want the same trick to be done on the same jump. And back then we were all every jump we were doing were new jumps almost, so we're like finding a jump in a new spot, building a jump, and then say the first guy will go, say we'll do a backside 7, then the second, like say I will go afterwards, I would want to do something different, because if I was to let it, we would want it to be a little bit different in the movie. And that was always a relationship we had with our filmer as well, and that was the producer of the film, and it was kind of like an unsaid thing in a way. It was like not a competition, never was, but it was always like, oh, if you land the first trick, if you get to go first, you get to set what trick you want to do, and until you land it, then nobody should really try that certain trick. It was kind of in that way. That's the game we're playing in the backcountry. Like rock, paper, scissors. First guy gets to choose a trick, and then the other guy has to pick something. So sometimes some setup were better built for a certain tricks, but if you were left having to do something different, then you had to be creative and get more creative, and I thought that was pretty sweet.
Right. How much harder is it when you're like up there and you just built a new jump on something that basically has never been jumped before? How much harder is it to be the guinea pig, the guy who goes first, versus a guy who actually watches the guy who goes first is like, okay, that looks good, or okay, that's bumpy, or whatever, right? How much harder is it to be the guy who goes first? Like, is it a lot more mental preparation to go first, or is it just like you feel good about it because you have an untracked landing?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the situation, because sometimes we pre-build a jump the night before and you get all night to think about it, right? So you either stress about it, or you visualize, or or sometimes you just happen to start building a jump and then you finish building a jump and then you're really into it already. You've been like walking the jump and you're feeling it at that moment, and then rock, paper, scissors, first one goes, and then sometimes it's easier some days, but it always ends up being the best moment of the day, because, whether you're scared to go first because you don't know if you're going to deck it or overshoot it, or you're just super confident about it, ultimately that feeling that you get for doing that first hit is what kept me going for 20 years or something, It's like,
right. Longer than that, actually. I did my research.
All right. But yeah,
okay.
I mean, that's that feeling, that's what feels rad, and I think that's why people keep going out there and finding new jumps and, wanting to be that first guy, because that's pretty stressful.
Yeah, it is, because you don't know the speed, and like you said, you could deck it, you could overshoot it, and you're just not 100% sure when you go first.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's pretty interesting.
And by the end of April, you pretty much know your speed, but in the 1st of January, you're not super in tune yet with your speed and the terrain. So as you go throughout the season, it also gets easier to open jump first and stuff like that, and be more precise.
Yeah. So you've had like we're gonna get back to the sponsors and the yes and all that stuff, but you're actually probably I could be wrong, but you may be the only rider who's actually filmed with Absinthe, with Whitey, with Mack Dawg, and Martin Gallant, and a bunch of others. But like, who is your favorite crew to work with in the past, let's say, 24 years?
Well, it's always been fun. I've been very lucky to have a chance to ride with pretty much every crew, like you're saying. But I like to say, like, my favorite years of riding was always with, Brad Kramer and Shane Shadowboy and those crew. And that's when we filmed for Kingpin, but then they also took over with Mike McIntyre with Mack Dawg. So it was like the last couple of years of Kingpin and to the first few years of Mack Dawg, I'd say.
Okay.
Riding, like being filmed with Kramer or Shane, and riding with UC, Ville, Josh Dirksen, Lucas Huffman, Scotty Whitley, that crew. I think that was...
Was it different? Like, let's say the bedside manner, like a doctor's got a bedside manner. Are the bedside manners of the different filmers for different crews significantly different? Like someone just go for it, and someone else is like, are you feeling it? Or are they just like, they let you do your own thing? Is it really significantly different from film crew to film crew, the way you work with the filmer?
Yeah, I feel like it's everything, because I feel like I was lucky because, well, first of all, Brad, we did a lot of work together and spent a lot of time in the mountains, and he became a good friend, and I gained his trust, and I think that he gained mine, and we were able to really communicate well. And then also we had the chance to work with this guy Simon Turcotte, who was from my hometown, and we were friends already, and he ended up filming for Kingpin and Mack Dawg along those years. So I think that relationship, like that you're like close to the filmer, it's definitely different than when you end up being on another crew that they're used to being together. For example, like when I filmed with Sean Kearns, like with all due respect, I've seen Sean last couple of years and we're cool, but for years, like I honestly like couldn't stand the guy, like I couldn't film with him at all. I was gonna stop filming for Mack Dawg if I spent one more day in the mountain with that guy.
Okay.
But it all worked out.
Why is that? What's the difference? What makes a good filmer? How about that? Instead of like pointing a finger, let's say like what makes a good filmer? I mean, obviously your personal relationship. What makes a bad filmer? You just described what makes a good filmer. What makes someone who it's like hard to get along with in the backcountry? You're not willing to try something that could be potentially threatening your life, but also getting the shot in the movie that's like the most epic shot. Like what makes that difference? What makes a bad filmer versus a good filmer?
I'd say, yeah, the opposite of being in tune with the team of, somebody that's kind of like would not help with either picking a location or want to do, like, say we were building a jump, somebody who's not willing to help at all and just end up commanding you to hurry up or go faster because they're losing life as opposed to helping you build the actual jump. Things like that, or I don't know, like sometimes it just felt like that, it was because we were French Canadian, and there was a language barrier, cultural barrier in a way. There was some people that they liked better, and there was just a little bit of disrespect in a way, and so I feel like I think it's an important thing that crew respect each other because you are in the backcountry and sometimes it is like not life and death scenario so much, but it's sometimes because if you don't have respect for somebody, how can you trust that person is sending you off the right cliff, or off the right kind of this jump you need to like be so precise in, So I think a good filmer is somebody who can connect with the riders who's filming, and also somebody that's going to be encouraging as opposed to, you know, dissing the person or their choice. You know?
Right. So you filmed, like, I would say probably a ton of video parts. Do you know how many video parts you've had? Like in some, like in all the video parts put together, how many have you had?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. If you said 24 years, then there was for sure 1 or 2 a year. So that's
right.
40 video part, maybe more.
Right. So which was your favorite out of all those? Like, okay, so 2 questions actually. What was your favorite video part out of all of them? And then what was your role like with the music in the video parts? Because I've watched a couple of your video parts here this afternoon, and there's definitely like a wide variety of different musical backdrops. Does the music have an important role? And did it have an important role in your favorite part?
Yeah, I think so. Often, like, you know, when we first started filming, it's a little bit different than it is now, because we film in 16 millimeter, so we will never see the footage until the premiere in San Diego. So, like, basically, we trusted the filmer and the editor to pretty much do it all.
Right.
And often, they will also pick the music. And so we hope that you had a good music, something like that they capture all the moments that you remembered from the season. And then it was a big premiere feeling for everybody, for yourself as well, like to all be at ASR in San Diego and watching. Nowadays, you can watch your shot every time after. You can progress more or make it like the way you want, and also pick more songs. But I also was, I was definitely lucky as well to be close to the filmers and the production companies at some point. So I was able to choose some of the songs. And for me, it was like, I always was inspired and stoked on the punk rock. So the songs like where I chose No Effects songs. And I think those were a couple of my favorite parts, No Effects. And also, I really liked how Brad had edited the part from Rush with Love in the Mack Dawg movie. I like that song shows there and the way.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say? Which part?
It was in from Russia with Love.
Okay, yeah.
Or from Blank with Love.
Yeah. So was there ever a part where like you showed up at the premiere in San Diego and then like your part comes on and you're like, they picked this song for me? What? Were you ever like bummed out because of the song that was in your part?
No, not really. No, I never was really. No, I wasn't. I was pretty stoked. I was always honored to be in the movie in the first place. It was always like, I don't know, it's always a weird thing because I grew up watching snowboard movies and all of a sudden I was in them. It just kind of was a natural transition, but I always felt very grateful to be in there, so I never was bummed.
Yeah. Okay. So you were like on Burton for about 14 years, filming with Whitey. I think you were probably filming with Mack Dawg maybe a little bit back then. How did the Burton thing come to an end? How did the 7 thing kind of come to an end? Because I know that kind of had a hard break, and I know that, you guys started Yes out of that. So I'm kind of curious to hear, was there bad blood? Was it like, what happened there?
Well, it was 10 years ago. And I believe, like, what really happened is, like, after the fact, obviously we were being from the but at the end, it turned out to be quite a something that was actually a good thing, because now we started our brand and it's been 10 years now in the making, and we celebrated 10 years at Snowboards this year. But back then, there was like a big financial crisis, and I think that what happened is Burton changed their CFO, and they looked at the spreadsheet, and they're like, oh, why are we spending a lot of money there in a category of the brand that we are trying not to sell many products. They were trying to keep the low. They were trying to like not open up those boards into big stores. We were always trying to keep it in core stores. So
right, 7 was for core retail.
They're like, what would pay those guys much money, but yet we're not selling a lot of them boards. They didn't see the big picture, and they made some drastic cuts, and we were part of it. That was I think I speak, let's say, as JP or Romain would speak a little bit, is like we were all told for many years that, it was kind of like a family thing at Burton. We were like, they could see us like going for many more years and then moving into other roles later on. We already was doing 14 years with them. That was my first sponsor. So I took it pretty rough, but in a way it was a door that was closing and another one was opening. Romain, actually, we were all in the same situation. Romain and JP and myself got cut at the same time, and Romain had a Swiss background and somehow was linked up with the Nidecker family. And when Henry Jr. was, led the key to their company, and so it was just a good timing that we were able to start our brand at that moment when we were, that same season. Even though it was a crisis, we just decided to go for it, and then it kind of worked.
Right. So, when you started, how challenging was it? Because that was in the thick of the crisis, the financial crisis, the stock market, the housing crisis bubble, I guess. How long did it take you guys to be like, okay, this is actually going to last? Or were you guys kind of like on a month-to-month basis, like, oh man, I hope we can keep the lights on?
Well, now we made it to 10 years, so now I can just say it's going to last. Just this year. So I don't know. But no, year after year, it's just like the same, it's like you just work towards something and year goes fast, right? But I feel like it just gets better year after year with the people we work with, all over Salesforce and logistically as well with the people we're involved. And we're very lucky to be with that Nidecker group right now. They came a long way in the last 10 years. With the acquisition they just recently did, but also with like the support they've given us, and now and Jones, and I feel like we're in a good space now to keep growing. But like the first year was tough. Like we showed up to Las Vegas with 5 boards. That was our time, and we went to Kinko's and printed a bunch of Xerox paper that said cheaper boots, more booze, cheaper boots, more boobs, and we had that like on the wall, and that was it. Like we had an apartment,
right?
We rented a room, and we had people coming to drink with us, and that's like we were just discussing that at sales meeting last week. How it works is like this guy Jeremy Sladen from the UK showed up and said, "All right, I love what I see. I'm going to write an order for 300 boards." And I was like day one, and it was the first ever order. And at that point, we all look at each other and we're like, okay, we are in business. We're starting a snowboard company. Now it's real. We had our first order.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah. So did your role change? Because at Burton, you were like a team rider, right? But did you take on other responsibilities when you started? Yes. Did you design the product? Did you team manage? Did you do sales? It sounds like you were doing some sales. You were kind of doing different things than you were doing at Burton.
Oh, for sure. We all did everything. Like at first when we started, we designed the boards. We worked with designers in the factory to make the boards, the actual boards. And then we also made the catalog. We're team managing. We're making the movie projects, reaching out to sponsors to get money. We're producing movies, putting it out there. We're doing pretty much everything. And for the last 10 years, that's pretty much what it's been. And it's been also growing in that direction and like taking care of the marketing for our brand. And so, yeah, I'm still doing team management and pretty much like marketing management and all that stuff.
Okay, so how much of your time is focused on riding versus working on Yes?
Well, considering we can like ride 4 or 5 months a year, I'd say like, already like I ride a lot less than I will work on Yes, because Yes, the development goes throughout the year, the promotion all fall, sales meetings, trade show during the sales season, like December, January. But yeah, I mean, when the snow starts flying, like I'm in the mountain as much as I can, but then that just means that I'm up late checking out emails and answering, doing tasks and things like that. But I do work a lot these days on my computer, a lot more than I'd like to anyways. But at the same time, it's very exciting, to run our own brand and everything. But yeah, it's time consuming. Like I actually run the social media and all the content managing and all that. So it's, 40 hours a week on the computer. Maybe.
Right. 50 hours in the backcountry, 40 hours on the computer. That's a 90-hour work week.
Totally.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Beeve, sitting here with Sully in a room just talking about snowboarding. If you can believe it, we're just a couple guys with a couple microphones. The idea really was to make a podcast for the people by a couple snowboarders, and that's us. But in turn, we need you to help us out. Go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project, and just for like a couple bucks, maybe the cost of a beer, you can help us keep creating these shows. This month, we have so much good content for you. We have Torgeir, we have Nate Holland, we have Dave Schreiber, Kurt Heine. We have all these people in the industry, and these are interviews for you so that you can go listen to them and learn something about the industry that you are directly a part of. We want to keep creating them for you. So if you can help us out, 1, share our podcast. 2, potentially donate to our podcast. 3, rate our podcast. And 4, keep listening to our podcast, because the more of those things that we get, the more we can keep creating, the more cool ideas we can start tackling, and the more great stories we can keep bringing to you. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of that. Patreon.com/the Snowboard Project.
So is there anything that happened with like, yes, now you're wearing all these different hats and you're just like, this is my business too, so I really it's up to me to make it succeed or fail. What was like something that you came across doing Yes, where it was unexpected, it was like an unexpected challenge where you're like, oh man, I'm not sure if I can figure out how to accomplish this? Were there like new challenges that you had to face now that you were running a company versus just focusing on the riding? And what were the biggest ones?
Yeah, I guess there's always challenges that happens when you do, when you learn things, and running a business wasn't something that we knew how to do. So we definitely had to learn everything. But we're lucky to be working with people that know more, like Alex Warburton. That's our brand manager right now. He does a lot, and he's definitely he's the glue and the execution of our brand. Without him, I don't think that Yes would have survived this last 5 years. But I think that the most challenging, I guess, but one of the challenging things is it's all that transition between going fully pro snowboarding, being supported as a snowboarder with our sponsors, and then slowly kind of transitioning where getting less support from paying sponsors and needing to meet, to pay bills and everything, and having to transition to more of a more of a real work, on the computer and running the brand in a way,
right.
Where we have to budget ourselves to be able to do that now, which at the same time, it's really, really good. But I think that's a challenging thing for myself is that transition. And I'm having a little bit of a hard time still with that, but I think that it's actually pretty sweet these days, because coming back from sales meeting, I'm very confident of the team that we're working with together now, and I think the future is bright. So I'm very excited. But this last couple of years has been tough. That being cut from the North Face and and having no more support in that way, and then
So what are like the biggest satisfactions over those 10 years you've been doing Yes? What are like, let's say 3 things that we were like really gratifying and in terms of like, transitioning into the business side of the sport? Like what were like 3 things where you're like, okay, this is working, or like, okay, the great boards are really being accepted well, or whatever it is. Like what are the things that like really, that you really were like, okay, this is like going in the right direction? Like what were some of those benchmarks?
Yeah, well, I think that the benchmark was, I just said it, I think like hiring Alex Warburton to join the crew.
Yep.
That was a big benchmark, because from that, we were able to really have in-house somebody who had a lot of experience, not only as a pro snowboarder, like as a pro snowboarder himself, but then he went and designed all sorts of boards in different companies like Forum and Salomon. And then he also had a lot of experience in marketing and branding. So he brought a lot to us. I was like, and we were able to get a couple of good awards from his innovation and what he brought to Yes. Like the ISPO Gold Award, we got that for the powder hall that we brought into. So I think that was definitely just like as a whole, like bringing him as a benchmark. I think as far as model goes, and that's something that we kind of talked about a little bit recently in a conversation, is like the 420 shape that we brought. That one is a shorter board and wider. So it's a 148, 152, that's 29 or 30 wide. That was inspired by surfing, where when big wave surfing was happening on like 6'10" boards, and all of a sudden everybody's riding a 5'8" or 5'10", but with more volume. So that was the inspiration. So I feel like that was a big benchmark, because also I feel like since then, that was like 6 years ago already, and ever since I see every company having one of those boards.
I was going to say, like, that was really the first quote-unquote short fat, right? Yeah. The first board that was, like, shorter powder board. And like, I remember I was probably talking to Alex, maybe it was you, I don't know, probably at ISPO, about, like, just like, Ed, you're telling me that I should ride this board? And you're like, yeah, it's just as good as like a full size board. And it seems like you guys were like the very first ones I had seen, and I was definitely skeptical of that. But it seems like obviously it is working, because it's probably, one of the most copied kind of ideas, shapes, whatever, in the sport in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, we haven't changed the shape in 5 or 6 years. We just, maybe changed a bit of material a little bit and like graphics. But when something works, it's just really good. And I feel like a lot of people in other brands have been, following the movement of that, and the customer as well. So I feel like it's good now. People have a lot of options, but I'm pretty proud that that we were able to be innovator in that sense, bringing that in. Otherwise, I think the asymmetrical twin, the Greats that we did as well, and now we keep going with the Unink team. I feel like that's also a benchmark, or like kind of like a board that stands in our line as kind of like a Yes thing,
Yeah, yeah. So which one is your favorite board to ride, and then which board do you ride when you're filming, basically for landing gear to make sure you can stomp out your landings? So I'm not sure you would ride a 420 for landing big airs, but it might be more fun. Which is your favorite to ride, and then which one do you ride for filming your part?
I think my favorite to ride is the 420, just because riding it will mean that I'm in deep powder and I'm going fast through trees, and I'm able to land on the boat of anything really. But for real, what you said, you need a little bit more landing gear sometimes on bigger lines or bigger jumps and things. So over the years, the last few years, I rode the Pischke line and also the Greats. That's more freestyle, a little bit more freestyle-y.
Okay, cool. So, let's go through a few just kind of more rapid fire kind of questions here, just to get a little picture about, I don't know, for instance, what are your 3 favorite mountains to ride? Like, if you could go ride anywhere, where would it be? 3 favorites.
Whistler, Jackson Hole, and Mount Baker.
Okay. All North America.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were your 3 favorite snowboard videos of all time?
Subject Hawkinson. Probably Stumping Ground and Project 6.
Okay. And then your favorite 3 trips of all time. Which 3 trips were you filming on or just traveling for fun? What were your 3 favorite trips that you made? Road trips or flying trips?
I think my first trip to Alaska with Mack Dawg. I was there with Kramer, UC, Josh Dirksen. And it was pretty sweet. And Adam Moran, and we ended up riding 47 free runs and filmed quite a bit as well. And we were very lucky. We had Burton flipping the bill on the 14 days of Heli trip. So that was definitely a highlight.
Ironically, the free riding was more important than the filming.
Yeah, because that was our first time there, We had to get used to the bigger mountain and the terrain, and we felt like that was a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, okay.
And so that was awesome. Another very fun trip that I did, the first time I ever went to Russia, as well on the Mack Dawg trip with Lucas Hoffman, Josh Dirksen, Louis Fontaine, Brad Kramer as well, and so we went to Krasnaya Poliana, where they had the last Olympic there.
Oh yeah, sick area.
So fun, and back then it was just one chairlift to the top, and we had to hike along the cornices and ride some super fun jump lines and spine lines, and just the culture shock was just super awesome. I'd say that the 3rd favorite snowboard trip of all time would have been Japan. And when I filmed with Absinthe, I ended up doing the Toyota Big Air in Sapporo, and then stayed for 3 weeks to film with Justin for, I think, Super Pro for one of those. I think that's the name of the movie. Me and Nicholas and my wife Megan and Scott Sullivan and Blotto got just to ride deep out, 2-3 feet of fresh blower every day, and we just kept changing our tickets out, and then we stayed 3 weeks.
Nice. Okay, so how about 3 close calls that you've had either for you or someone who was in the crew you were riding with?
So one time I was in Alaska. I was riding with Ville, Leoma, filming with Absinthe, and we were spinning a couple laps on this space, and on our second lap, Ville went to his spot, and I started riding my line, and it started to break everywhere, so I stopped and was able to anchor myself. and the whole entire mountain went about 3 feet deep and went on the other side and took out the whole entire other side of the valley, all the way down the glacier, and like literally it was like 1,000 foot of snow like going up the glacier into this abyss. Like it was gnarly. And then for that, so we survived that one. That was close.
That's gnarly. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Early on in Argentina with Burton on a Burton photo shoot, it was very windy, and I was up hiking with Jeff Curtis and a designer at Burton. We were just scoping it out and ended up dropping into this couloir after 5 skiers went. As a sort of 6th guy down the couloir, and it broke 4 feet deep. The whole thing went, and I went with it and got spit out of the bottom cliff, and I had no idea how big it was. And then I ended up riding out, but I had no more jackets, no more backpack, or no more goggles or apps or anything. All this.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was crazy. And otherwise, I guess like another time filming in Alaska was like probably a close call for Justin. I was able to get out of the way, but Justin had his camera out, and we were lapping this windlet jump for a while and starting at the top of the mountain and riding into it. And then it was getting warmer, I guess. And then one of us, all of us, like were on slope, except the last one was dropping. I think it was Ville. He dropped in from the top, and when he started to ride down the whole bowl rope, and he was coming at us. And so we were able to get out of the way, but Justin didn't have time because he had his camera. And so the wave came at him, and I remember him throwing his camera in the air and his backpack at the same time, and then getting taken out by the wall of white snow. And then I just remember like him going over the hill, and then we're like, oh man, oh no, we're gonna have to dig him out. Oh no, I hope he's all right. And then we went and we found him and dug him out, and then his camera and everything, all the footage was on top of the snow, and he didn't lose it. So that was a crazy one. Yeah,
that's pretty crazy. So you've used your beacon actually in a real life situation.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. But now you're a dad. You have 2 kids. Do you approach like these kind of big mountain type things differently now that you're a dad and you are a husband and you have other responsibilities? Because it sounds like, all of those 3 incidents happened before you were, a father.
Yeah. Yeah. It did change my priorities in a way. But I always was cautious. I always tried to listen to my intuition in the mountains, but that you never know, like something is always can happen, But obviously I think I've been even more cautious over the years and wanting to know more about the snowpack and where I'm riding, and maybe taking less risk as far as like, oh, I know it's going to go, but oh well, that's fine. I can outride it, like it's almost like sometimes when you're filming and you're a little younger and you don't have responsibility, you're like, oh yeah, you can get away with it. But Mother Nature's so big and the mountain's so powerful that that's what I will recommend not to do. But I guess you learn.
The hard way, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah, I lost a very, very, very good friend in an avalanche, and that pretty much changed my life. I think that having kids like changed my life in the term of becoming more cautious. But when I lost my best friend and their uncle, and it took a year for my daughter to not be afraid to go down like a regular slope on the mountain because she thought an avalanche would take her out. That was really tough. So then I almost like quit altogether to film or want to be in the backcountry. But then, and then we even had an interview situation at the same time. My wife was going through breast cancer, and I thought I was going to lose her. And then it was just took me on a huge spin. But then at the end of the day, I came back because I know that being in the mountain makes me really happy, and I want my kids to experience that. And But I think that we have to make it all smart, and that's why I keep learning more about the mountains and wanting them to learn. And I'm definitely, more cautious. Like if it's been dumping and it's been windy and it's bluebird the first day, I'm definitely not going to do a big line. Like back in the days, I would be the first one going there first to make sure I get it. But now I'm like, somebody wants it. That's fine. I'm definitely, I'm not as savvy as to get it first. I would rather let it settle now. And I think I learned a lot from all those experiences, and hopefully I keep learning, because when you think you learn too much, that's when you get in trouble.
Yep. So what kind of formal education do you have in snow safety? Like, have you taken classes? Is it more practical experience in the mountains? Like, how have you learned to be safe in the mountains?
Yeah, I've taken those avalanche classes multiple times now, just to remind myself always, and then some advanced classes up at Ballface Lodge. And every time you go to I was able to go to many cat operation or Heli places. So we always do training while we're there too. And also snow training, if I'm, just every time I go in the mountain, really, looking for beacon and learning more and reading. And I would like to do the commercial one next. That's kind of what I'd like to get into. I wouldn't hate it to become a tail guide at Baldface or something for a season or two and learn more about the snow and keep riding. That could be a good option.
You hear that, Jeff? Jeff will be listening in on this one, I'm sure, because you guys are friends.
All right. See you at the left.
Tail guide. Here comes your next tail guide, DCP. Yeah, that's cool though. But it's something that you've been doing now for what, 15 years, or you've been learning actually the formalized education and then repeating those classes for what, 15 years now?
Yeah, I would say I repeat them every year, but yeah, for about that long. Always try keep on it and do more training. Certification wise, I could do more.
Yeah. Do you wear an airbag every time you go out?
I personally don't. I've worn the airbag backpack in Alaska and on some bigger lines in BC. Or in, say times when I'm like, okay, we're going to go anyways. It's very dangerous now, but we're going because we got to, and we're going to find some safer places, and just the travel in the mountains is sketchy. So I wear that sledding. I don't wear it all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears again. That's enough about all this risky stuff, because it is risky business, or can be potentially. And obviously, risk management is a key part of being a backcountry snowboarder, right? Just knowing when to say when, But so anyhow, who are the three riders that you look up to most? Like growing up, who are the three guys that you looked up to most? And then who are the three guys that you like riding with the most?
I think growing up, I definitely looked up a lot to the friends that I was riding with. But as far as snowboarders that were icons, I think Terry Hawkinson was always somebody I looked up to. And I'd say guys like Ingemar Backman and also Daniel Frank, that crew.
Pipe jocks. You like the pipe jocks.
I like pipe. Yeah, I was by the pipe riders for sure. But I guess also guys when I first got on the Burton team, I really connected and was very inspired by say Terrier, but also Mickey Halben and Johan Olofsson. Those guys, I was introduced to them early on when I started with Burton, and I was able to join on a few trips, and they always seems like we always connected very well, and they were also kind of the guys I was very looking up to, for sure.
Right. So who are the guys you have the most fun riding with, shredding or sledding or anything?
Yeah, I think like it's all my French Canadian friends, like 418 crew or the guys that live in Whistler that I've lived with, always had the best time on the mountain with those guys. Or like, JP Romain and all those hunting years with Gigi and doing all that. But I feel like, the filming days, like, I think the guys, the crew that I had the most fun with was with UC and Ville and Dirksen. And like the years that I spent with those guys in the mountains, I think like we always had an endless way. Like during those years, I think. Like that, yeah.
Hey folks, if you're tuning in to us still, please take a minute to go to Patreon.
Wait.
What?
Is there like some question that they wouldn't still be tuning in?
Well, if they're still listening, they can go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project.
But you're still staying still.
Still.
Like they might
not
have
just
even
listened
made
to
it
the
this
first
far.
5 minutes. Yeah, they might not have made it this far. So.
Okay.
But I just want, if you're still listening, okay, if you're listening, go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project, and we're going to count on you guys to support an independent voice in snowboarding media. It's how we're going to keep this thing advertising free and have a voice that is not affected by the advertisers.
You mentioned that you have fun riding with the 418 crew. It seems to me like all those guys at a certain point were like pros, I would say, more or less on your level as far as like they were traveling, they were getting video parts or whatever. What do you attribute the fact to that 24 years later, you're still a professional snowboarder and those guys are doing other things, like for jobs or whatever?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that, I think everybody had the passion. I think that's what connected us in the first place. But
yep.
I think that there's just things that kept fueling my passion, and then it just kept, maybe I just like never want to let go of that, those good years, and like just like the feeling of snowboarding and the accomplishment that it gives me, and also I feel like I've always so enjoyed the new, right? Like going to a new resort or learning something new or meeting somebody new through snowboarding, or now through the business, learning, every aspect. I think like I was lucky because every year there was a project. So I was involved with something that I was able to get creative with and push myself to accomplish, and then do that to the best I could, and then move to the next one, and then do that the best I could, and then so years just kind of like happened to stack up back to back, and it never really felt like it's been 24 years. It's like always like almost not a blur, but it's like I just kind of like get caught up in it. And it just like keeps happening. And then, even with the lack of support and, the decrease of support, I'd say just, I don't know, overall in the industry, but like personal support from sponsors, like, although I'm super well supported still, but it's just like, it's always like, I think like, I guess I'm just loving it. I just love to do it. And it just, that's what kept me there. I just never wanted to let go.
It seems like today it's a lot. It seems to, and I could be wrong about this, but it seems like there are more riders kind of coming and going. Like you're sponsored 1 year, then 3 years later, you're like, what happened to so-and-so? Right? What do you think that's from? Like, do you see that? And is that something that's real, or am I just seeing that in my head? Or do you feel like it's harder to maintain like a long-term career now than it was when you started riding?
The progression is unbelievable right now. And I feel like the access that the youth and the people have to perfect parts, perfect setups, and also perfect access to those setups. Like they have a chairlift next to a perfect park that they can hit 100 times in an hour, where we always have to hike or build our own stuff or design the rail setups or design it with the resort and make it approved. And then they build it, and then you end up like having a week to ride it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like nowadays the progression and the access is way bigger. So there's so many riders from everywhere that get good, and people take it a lot seriously too. Like they go to gym even as teens, you know, and as young guys, like we always just like partied and went snowboarding. You know, so it's like there's a little bit of the difference, like the level of athleticism that snowboarding has needs now. Anyways, like you need to be in better shape to be able to go as big and to do all that stuff. And you know, I feel like, so I think that, it's just like the progression's just high and it's good to see, but I feel like at the same time, that's why like somebody gets so like maybe like very, very good, very fast, and then either he gets over it and he wants to move on. Maybe he didn't achieve what he thought he could achieve all the snowboarding in that fast period of time, or maybe he achieved it already. You know, maybe he's already doing as good as he thinks he can, and that's all they wanted to do. Maybe land that triple cork. Maybe people have different aspirations. You know, I grew up looking up to Carrier in all of his video parts, and subconsciously I wanted to film and live that life. And so these days some riders might grow up wanting to be very good at the certain tricks or learning all those rotations, and then once they do it, maybe they're over it. I'm not sure. Or maybe also, I mean, there's so many riders that companies can support them all, and also there's so many projects that the eyes on a certain project or certain riders is not as it was, you know.
Do you feel like Instagram has actually hurt like pro riders in that anyone can be their own producer or whatever, and now like every rider has got a part every day of the year, and so it's hard to keep track of who's really on point versus when you'd have to wait to go to San Diego to even see your part.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's totally different, but I think that the progression has improved, and it definitely went to a higher level because of it, because you know what's happening at that moment. You can see it right away. Kids see it everywhere, and they want to push that. And it got people also back to that space when we started snowboarding with small crews and really being tied together. And now the crews are actually, they all have their cameras, they all have their movies, and they're pushing each other in that way. So I think that's pretty cool. But definitely I'd say like we laugh about that song, you know, like things like Instagram kill the video star, you know, like it's kind of like part of like that's the evolution. But yeah, I feel like nowadays, like even I can't really keep up. I try to run social media for Yes, and I look at a lot of different things and get inspired and see what's happening. And every hour or every minute, there's a new edit or a new movie that's popping up or a link in the bio there to watch this. And I was like, you know?
I know it's hard to keep up. Honestly, I'm trying to keep up with all these movies, and it's like, oh yeah, there's 3 new movies this week. Oh yeah, the next week 3 new movies. Next week 3 new movies. It's like, whoa, there's a lot going on. Yeah. You know, so it's hard to keep up with. So, you know, switching hats, I guess a little bit. You're the team manager as well for Yes. What makes like an ideal candidate for a Yes team rider? Like, what would you look for? Like, what are the kind of like things that you look for as a team manager for a kid to pick up and sponsor? Like, what are the kind of characteristics you'll see or common threads between different riders who would actually like make good representatives of a brand?
Well, to me, I feel like what's important is is somebody who will translate, fun, like riding with fun, the fun of the essence of snowboarding. A rider that probably, I would like a rider that's humble and that's able to let his riding speak, but also that's kind to people. That's not gonna be a cocky person, like that would be a good yes thing. We try to keep it positive at yes.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody, I'm very happy with the team that we have right now. Everybody is very genuine and they really love snowboarding, and they've been very loyal as well to our brand. So I like to support that. And as well as like a new kid, like that will be an up and comer that could join the Yes team. It's like somebody who is snowboarding for the right reason, for the fun of it, and to progress and to be with friends and to be an advocate for snowboarding,
for the sport as well as yes.
For the sport as well as yes, exactly. And so like somebody I talked to, and if I feel like they're there for the right reason, for that experience that it brings, and it's not just like, oh, am I gonna be like, how much money am I gonna make next year, or like, am I able to make a living out of this? Like, even like, things have changed, but I think like it's just like, it's not very, it's pretty common that I see like people working like all year or half the year to be able to get their winter off and then live that pro snowboarding life then for the winter and want to really push it.
Right. They're pro snowboarders, but they're actually professional carpenters, which allows them to be self-sponsored professional snowboarders.
And I like to see people that also have other interests, in their life. I think it's important.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say, let's say your sponsor just made you pro this year and you're a new pro and you're like, man, DCP has been being a pro snowboarder for 24 years. Like, what kind of advice do you have? This is the final question. What kind of advice do you have for like a kid who just turned pro who wants to make a whole long career, a life out of being a professional snowboarder? Do you have any tips that you can share with kids who are like trying to make this into something more than 3 or 5 years or 7 years and really extend this into a whole life?
I would say like, I guess I'd say to stay true to yourself, and stay honest with yourself and with the people you with. I mean, you never know who you're gonna end up working with. At some point, in 24 years, you ride with the people, they end up being your managers later in life.
Right.
That's one thing. I feel like to also always never take anything for granted, because really, like, you are very lucky to be given that opportunities, and I feel like it's good to take and to do the best out of it, because there's a lot of people that are there wanting that chance. So I feel like, if you're given the opportunity, it's good to take it and to push it. I think another advice would be to educate yourself in the backcountry, follow your intuition, and to be able to say no when it doesn't feel right. It doesn't matter. You'll get another chance. It's not worth it to try to kill yourself for a shot, because there's plenty more opportunities ahead. And then I'd say, just keep having fun and, spread the message of snowboarding is fun, to go in the mountains and, be kind to the kids and the adults and everybody, everybody's in the same boat. We're all on the mountains to have fun,
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and kind of covering a lot of different bases through your snowboarding career. But man, there's a lot of them. I could probably talk to you for another hour and a half, but I think I've taken up enough of your time. You got a wife and kids probably being like, what's Dad doing right now? What are you doing?
Well, yeah, my son came in about 4 times just to watch, looking at me like, are you doing that?
Yeah, it's time to play video games, Dad. Come on. Cool. Well, hey, thank you, and have a great holidays, and hopefully we'll be able to ride again soon. I got to say, one of my most memorable days in Alaska was actually riding with you. That was just kind of crazy and unexpected, and so I've had some great days in the mountains with you as well, so I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to hopefully riding with you again soon.
I remember that day was awesome. That was so epic. So yeah, let's do it again soon, hopefully, and thank you for everything, that you bring.
Yeah.
Snowboarding as well, Mark, like seriously, and did a lot. And, I think that all of us like need to keep it together for everybody else. and then, and then everybody can keep doing that. So then we have something good for the next generation,
Yep, definitely. Well, I'm going to go. My opening day is tomorrow, too, so I'll be up on my hill.
Oh, sweet. Well, me too. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to it. Happy season,
Yeah.
man. See you on the show.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, cool. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mark.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beeve, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't be a... Don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Man like Mark Sullivan, worry yourself. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Bead. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Welcome back to the Snowboard Project. I'm Mark Sullivan.
And I am the Beeve, and we are coming at you live from the Snowboard Project studios at the Hot Water Inn in Ketchum, Idaho.
I knew you were going to do that.
Come on, you say this every time.
Okay,
we may
let's
as
go.
well. We may as well.
Yeah,
in
okay.
Sun Valley, Idaho, out here.
Yep.
And it snowed this week.
It did, and I think we got about 10 inches.
Whoa there. Whoa there. Fake news.
Okay, that brings up a good point, right?
I think that's a great point.
Yeah,
Yes, we were
yeah.
going to talk about this.
Yeah.
What was it? It was like number 41, snow totals.
Oh, snow total. So
Yeah.
it's like the fishtail
Right.
of snowfalls
Right.
that resorts seem to perpetuate
Yes.
across the interweb machine.
Yep.
Right? And so it's basically like, okay, we actually got about, 3 to 4 inches?
Yeah, we got 3 to 4 inches.
And then you called me up and you're like, dude, I heard we got like 6 inches. And I'm like, oh, no, that was 10 inches.
No, I called you up and I said, I think there's 4 or 5 inches. And you said, no, that's 11 inches.
Right. On the internet.
Yeah.
If you read it on the internet, it says 11, but really it's 4 to 5.
Right, but you can do the math. It's kind of like that, dividing every guy's conquest by 3.
Right.
You can basically do that for like a ski hill
It's
as well.
It's like converting like inches to, or like Fahrenheit to Celsius, like double it and add 30.
Right.
Yeah, I went 4 days in a row.
You did.
Yeah, from opening day all the way through the weekend. Went out with my kids, went out with you, Beeve. We had a great time.
Dude, I
thought.
had a great time. It was really
Yeah.
fun getting up there and just making some early season turns,
Yeah.
And we ended up over in like a mini park and, hitting some jumps with like the boys,
That
which
was pretty fun. I got my
right?
first methods of the season on, got my first jibs.
Right.
First jibbing of the season, of the new year. So that was fun.
I did I did some follow camming with a microphone. I've always been, follow camming with a,
Right,
with a
and that'll
camera.
be coming up in this show. I guess we're going to have some sounds from the mountain live.
Right.
From the mountain.
The follow camming with a microphone I found doesn't really work as well. So anyway.
Right, okay.
All right. Let's move on. What do we have in the world of snowboarding this week, Mark Sullivan?
Okay, well, I would say the biggest thing that happened anyway in the last week was probably the Air and Style in Beijing, China. It happened in the Bird's Nest.
Right.
So tell me 3 things about the Air and Style, Beeve.
Okay, I will admit I tried to do some real deep dive research on this.
Right. How deep did you dive? Pretty shallow pool, wasn't it?
There was there's a pretty shallow pool. So I'm going to go. One interesting thing is full media blackout. Aside from whoever smuggled in their phones to give, a 15-second Instagram video or whatever.
Right.
And
so
which I find just absolutely crazy. Like I couldn't really find too much other than like some results and a couple videos. There wasn't a lot. The other interesting thing is they build a massive jump out of scaffolding.
Right.
In the middle of the Olympic Stadium? Is that where they did it?
the Bird's Nest is what that's called, like the opening ceremony stadium. It's crazy looking venue.
Crazy.
For sure.
That image that you see, like it's like shot from the air looking down on the venue with it like poking out of the top of the stadium.
Right.
Pretty impressive, right?
It was a very impressive scaffolding type jump setup.
Scaffolding type jump setup. And I think the third impressive thing was that it was in like communist China.
It's not communist anymore.
Is it not?
No, I don't think so. They have capitalism over there now, too. That's why everything we have in America is made in China.
Okay, so there's 3 things that I can think of, but...
All right.
What are
3-ish things.
What are 3 things that you find interesting?
Okay, Shaun White was there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it was an FIS World Cup Big Air event.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
It was.
FIS?
It was.
Okay, all right.
And let's see, a third fun fact. The Chinese guys in the corral right in front of the podium thought it was crazy how much champagne they were spraying. You're supposed to drink the champagne, not spray it. I don't know if that's like international tradition or how that works.
I just have this like image of these little Chinamen running around with teacups trying to catch each little like.
No, I saw this like clip on Shaun White's Instagram because that's one of the only places we could get coverage of it was actually Shaun White's Instagram.
Right.
Maybe he's just trying to build his fan base.
Sure.
Right, but I mean, look what other cool things I'm doing.
So wait, if it's not being like televised in the state, like where are we going to see this thing, or is it just
okay? Here's what you're going to do, Beef.
Okay.
So you're gonna first of all you're gonna get your time machine. You're gonna go back 3 days in time. Then you're gonna buy a plane ticket to Austria.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing this.
Okay, and then you're gonna fly to Austria, and then you're gonna get a hotel room, and then turn on your TV. That's where you're gonna see it.
Oh, okay. So it was televised in Austria?
I think Austria, France, and maybe like one or two other countries.
Oh.
China maybe. I don't know. But it was televised in a couple of places, just not in North America. So basically we could only see it on Instagram.
Dude, time out. So this is just asinine to me because they spend all this money building this massive
a ton of money.
It's just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there are these sponsors and everything, and then they put it out across Europe and nothing to the United States. They probably televised it in China and Japan and some other places.
Well, I mean, we didn't have a ton of American competitors in there. Chris Corning was, I believe, our top American. But really, it was kind of a story of two different spins out of 3 jumps.
So, yeah, but, okay, wait. America, we invent, I don't know, baseball, basketball, snowboarding, hot dogs. I mean, like...
Yeah,
snowboarding is as American as hot dogs here, and baseball, and we don't get a chance to see it anymore.
Right. If skiing is French, then snowboarding is American.
Okay, so tell me who won it and with what.
Okay, so there was the winner was a Swedish rider, Sven Thorgren, and he did basically a frontside triple 14, backside triple 14, same kind of triple 14s we've been seeing across the world, across big air competitions, across the Olympics.
You sounded a little uninterested by this fact.
You know what? I mean, honestly, it's like I was just like, wow, I've seen this, and like, kind of my eyes rolled back into my head for a second there because it's like there is nothing interesting about these tricks. It's just the same stuff we've seen like all over the world, and honestly, like you're not going to see actually like the cutting edge progression on these scaffolding type jumps because usually it's like the snow is made out of basically blocks of ice that go through a chipper shredder or like one of those like tree shredders or whatever, and so it's actually like not the best surface to be snowboarding on, and so generally you won't see the progression happen on those jumps. But I guess it was an opportunity for aspiring Chinese athletes to see snowboarding firsthand.
Okay.
In Beijing.
Right. Yeah, I saw the lineup. There was definitely not a lot of like names that I recognized. There were a lot of like Europeans.
There were some good ones.
And there were definitely some good ones.
Yeah, Chris Corning was there. Sven Thorgren was there. Atsuka, what's his name? Takeru Atsuka.
Yep. Cleveland was there.
Yeah, Marcus Cleveland. And he that was the best clip I saw was Marcus Cleveland.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would almost go as far as to say it's like who's on drugs this week? Marcus Cleveland. Yeah. And the reason why is because he did a nollie double 9. I'm not sure how that scored, but man, I had to watch that clip over and over and over again. That was really the only clip that caught my interest out of the whole event. As far as like the riding.
Out of the 8 clips that we could actually find
on
the
and then
event,
they had like the finals coming up, and I was like searching so I could see the event live. I was actually up at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday when it was happening live, so I'm like, where can I tune in? Nowhere.
Sure.
Right. And but yeah, there was like a bunch of triple 14s. Anna Gasser did a double 10. She won the women's side. Yeah, she won for the women. And
she didn't want to roll out her triple in that situation, huh?
No, I don't think those conditions really warrant it. You know,
I
mean, honestly, it's like she did it on a pretty difficult jump, really.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I believe Stubai.
Were you telling me? And I thought that was funny. You said someone asked the question like, "Who won air in style Beijing?" And someone was like, "Air."
That's right. It wasn't the style; it was the air. Yep, there was air going on,
which is a great point. Point. Are we just like? I mean, Marcus Cleveland. He had a very stylish, cool, different trick. And
yeah, I mean, I would say that like that was definitely the highlight for me was the Nollie Dub 9. That Marcus Cleveland did, but it brings up a good point. It's like that actually would fall into air and style.
Right.
And it used to be, and we talked about this in the Torge Bergrum interview.
Right.
But how the air and style used to be, like you had to do one style trick and then one technical trick, right? And the style trick, that's a crowd pleaser. And then the technical trick, well, that just shows that you're at the cutting edge, of the sport.
Right.
And so I think it's almost regressed. It's taking a step backwards because doing like two different spins of like the most technical tricks, it just is kind of boring to watch when everyone is doing triple 14s.
You know what? I kind of miss the, like the quarter pipe at the Arctic Challenge. Like you could, do a big trick and then hit the quarter pipe, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty cool and different event.
Right.
And I think we're going to start seeing a resurgence of like different unique events. I think that when you watch these big air, especially the big air, slope style is pretty interesting because you get 3 jumps, three jibs, and so you get like a variety of maneuvers. But with these big airs, it is just like not that interesting if you're a snowboarder, and especially because of the disconnection between the cutting edge of trick progression and just the recreational riders who are out there who are like, I'll never do a 14, let alone a triple, let alone a triple and a 14.
So can I put you on the spot right now and say, like, if you were to create a format...
Do I have a choice? Wait,
no, you don't.
Okay.
If we were to create a format that's something new and creative that we haven't seen, what format would you do, Mark? I mean, we've talked about this, but I've never actually asked you this question.
Okay, so for slopestyle, I mean, basically I would do like, 2 technical tricks and 1 style trick on the jumps, maybe on the jibs as well. And then on the big airs, I would probably do the old air and style format. 1 crowd pleaser, aka a style trick, and then 1 technical aerial maneuver, triple 14, what have you, something like that.
Sure.
Quad 18, quintuple 2700, whatever it takes.
I mean, do you think allowing like a quintuple or a quad is just like even taking it too far? Because there's going to be like the 3 guys in the field that are going to be at that level.
Aerial skiers aren't even allowed to do quads, right?
Right.
So that tells you it's like maybe it's kind of progressed a little too far too fast. But, I guess that's kind of the name of the game is always to up the ante. And what's the easiest way to up the ante? It's like add a flip, add a 180, add a 360, whatever.
Right.
So, but I would like to see more crowd-pleasing tricks. And by crowd-pleasing, I mean just the tricks that are stylish. Grab, tweaked out, slower rotating, that kind of thing. Or rewind or shuffle. Or there was a trick last year where Stale landed in a wheelie, or a manual.
Yeah.
And the landing of a big air jump. I think those tricks are the ones that I want to see. And those are the ones that are going to capture my attention long term. So there you go. How about you? Do you have any new formats I haven't thought of?
I think I want to see one where, like there's no transition higher than like 15 feet and there's no jump that's bigger than like 60 and you can't spin more than like a 7. And you really have to just kind of have to add style. Yeah. You
could almost like manufacture it into the course itself.
I don't even want to see a double cork. I just want to see it just.
I actually wonder how many like riders out there are genuinely like personally stoked on like double, triple corks, quad corks.
To me, it seems like, even just watching the edits this week.
There were a ton.
Yeah, and there were a ton. And I think nobody was sitting there in the park. I mean, there were, I take that back. But the vast majority were just like, it was all about having fun and trying to add these cool little elements of style and individuality to what shot they were doing. Like, it was just, like, I didn't see a whole lot of it. And it was just so much fun to watch because you can relate with that guy that's just going up that quarter pipe and doing an 8-foot method and, coming in and maybe he's, slashing the lip or doing a blunt slide across the transition on the other side. And it's like, that's snowboarding to me.
And so maybe we should just jump right into talking about all of the edits that have come out this week. Okay.
Let's do that.
What was your favorite of the week, Beav? What was your favorite new video that was released in the past week?
God.
There were a lot.
This is a tough one because, they all had their individual kind of points that were really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I can actually pick out one that I thought was my favorite. You know, I have to laud the efforts of a few that I thought creatively they went and were like, you know what, we're going to revert back and say, like, let's shoot it on 16 or 8mm.
What does laud mean?
Like applaud, maybe. I think it's like laud the
magna cum laude.
Yeah, no. To just like laud the achievement, or like say like, you know,
celebrate the achievement.
Yeah, let's celebrate the fact that like some edits did some different things this week, and I think, you know, the summer edit that Ferguson, Danny Davis, Red Gerard, Nick Baden, Gabe Ferguson kind of just like did a summer edit from Hood, and it was all shot on 16. Filmer named Tyler Orton was like, I'm going to shoot it all on 16. And I thought I hadn't, you know, really seen a lot of films that were just like, we'll shoot it all on 16, mostly because...
What makes the 16 stand apart from like a, you know, like a red camera or something? What makes it seem different?
Well, I think, you know, when you look at 16mm film versus something that's as crisp as like red, you can totally see the difference when you stack them up against each other. There's something about...
Is it good or bad?
It's good. There's something about the richness of film being shot at 24 frames per second, or maybe you decide to shoot it at 32 a little slower, or 18, and you make things really quick, you know, and I think that is really cool to see. And I saw that even in Void, which was really cool.
That was a cool movie.
You know, they had a lot of 8mm shots in between everything, and not that we didn't see this in any other edits, but I thought this week particularly I saw that a lot more, and so I like that a lot. If you haven't looked at that film, that's the Alec Ostreng short film.
That's a good one,
and it was a good one because it really showed a lot of the, I guess, all the sides of snowboarding, right?
Right.
I think
there was jibbing, there was jumping, there was powder, there was hard pack.
Right.
Everything.
Right. There was one section that I didn't quite connect with because even it was like big mountain riding, but there was no like sound effects, and it felt really awkward to me. Like when they take off or land, there was not even like a hooting and hollering. Yeah, none of that. So that was the one thing I was like, come on, guys. Okay. You have such a good film going. But everything else in that I thought was pretty sick. That might be a little too harsh from like as a film.
Yeah.
Maybe, but we are.
I'll tell you what, after our
critics,
talk,
right?
after our talk with Stan, I've been really tuning into the music.
Right.
And so music-wise, I guess I would say that the one that I really liked was Coco Bongo.
Oh,
Coco Bongo.
Are we talking music about Coco Bongo?
Yeah, I like that. Phil Jackson, Frank April's new edit. Yeah.
I had a note about the music, which I thought was interesting.
Smashing Pumpkins.
I was like, did they come out of the gate with Smashing Pumpkins?
They did, right? And I was like, that connects with me. That connects with my college years.
Right. They had the Smashing Pumpkins. They had the Cure in there.
Yeah.
I think even another one, maybe even Void had like almost Smashing Pumpkins-esque. And it made me question, like, are we going back to a grunge rock phase?
Ooh, maybe. I wouldn't be the guy to ask that. I don't actually listen to music now. I just mostly listen to podcasts.
Right.
So a little bit of music
nerd,
when I
you're
ride.
a pod nerd. But anyways, Coco Bongo, thoughts on that film?
Okay, I thought it was awesome.
Me too.
Actually, I love the variety of features that they hit. Like it's like they're jibbing. It's mostly jibbing. There's a couple errors here and there, but like the way the features that they picked and the approach to it, it wasn't just like handrails. Right. It was like street signs and rooftops and
the shot of the street sign where they grinded down the lights on the street sign.
How sick was that, dude? I was like blown away.
Yeah. That was pretty rad. I
like that movie.
I like that movie. I thought the cinematography was really cool in it too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, let's just say like Blender had a lot of like follow cam stuff and traditional street shooting shots, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I thought this one was really cool in the way that they laid it out and they presented it. Just in like they'd have like lock off shots of something happening through the frame, and then the next minute they'd have like this like montage of like still photos of like the lifestyle of, and then you go back into riding and there might be a follow camera, there might be like another creative shot, and I thought the way that they presented it was actually pretty compelling.
I thought it was like my favorite jib movie so far this year.
I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
And maybe but
that's me. I'm old though, right? What do I know?
Me too. Stan loves Blender,
That's cool though, because it's like the cutting edge of tricks, and honestly I don't appreciate that cutting edge of tricks like Stan does.
Sure.
There you go. My favorite video actually of the week was Torsten Horgmo's Untitled Shredbots movie.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite because to me it was like a lot of drone footage in there,
Sure.
but it was like done well. It was like, and they had like animation throughout, like little CGI, which is a little strange.
It was crazy actually, like all the little water droplets that would fly off somebody like in the middle of something. It was impressive and executed really well for sure. And not that we haven't seen drones being used in snowboarding, we most certainly have.
Yeah.
And I started seeing it in some other, dare I say, ski films. What they have these like literally like a drone operator that is so technical at flying those things. He can fly so close and so fast and wrap around them. And I thought the perspectives, this week in snowboard videos was kind of game changer to me because I saw so many different perspectives in terms of filming goes. And that one, the drone footage was crazy in that,
Yeah, the drone footage did it. And also there were some awesome, amazing tricks, some of this new rewind, some of the new combo tricks, I would say, right? And Torstein, just awesome video.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Beeve, sitting here with Sully in a room just talking about snowboarding. If you can believe it, we're just a couple guys with a couple microphones. The idea really was to make a podcast for the people by a couple snowboarders, and that's us. But in turn, we need you to help us out. Go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project, and just for like a couple bucks, maybe the cost of a beer, you can help us keep creating these shows. This month, we have so much good content for you. We have Torgeir, we have Nate Holland, we have Dave Schreiber, Kurt Heine. We have all these people in the industry, and these are interviews for you so that you can go listen to them and learn something about the industry that you are directly a part of. We want to keep creating them for you. So if you can help us out, 1, share our podcast. 2, potentially donate to our podcast. 3, rate our podcast. And 4, keep listening to our podcast, because the more of those things that we get, the more we can keep creating, the more cool ideas we can start tackling, and the more great stories we can keep bringing to you. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of that. Patreon.com/the Snowboard Project. Yeah.
And there were some other ones that got me stoked too, like RK1. We just watched that, and it was like Gimbal got at it first of all. So that just in and of itself says must watch.
Sure.
Right.
But to date, like Gimbal God, we really haven't seen any like full production from Gimbal God. We've seen like clips, right?
Yeah. And like you see, like he's like the king of Instagram.
Sure.
Right.
So RK1 Family Vacation came out, dropped, which was cool. Did Torgeir had mentioned this to you, right? Just his crew of people that they'd been filming
and so
with.
that was kind of a video they filmed at Locks. And the cool thing to me about that was just like it was all done like inbounds at the resort, inbounds through the park, but it was just stuff that was like, wow, that was rad, I could do that. Or like, and now granted, I'm not going to do the same tricks they're doing, but it's like I could like go and hit all those hits. Right. I could attempt jibbing on all those jibs. I could like, it connected with me as a snowboarder more than, I don't know, a lot of different videos. It was like, okay, this is like my reality, a little bit more so than like some other videos.
I think it just kind of like gave the vibe of like, hey, we're going up to our home resort and we're going to shred it in the way that we know how. There were like some like 180 into the tree, like switch 180 out, or like into the trees and then the switch 180 out back onto the run. And it was just like, hey, I do that all the time.
I know, and they call it family vacation, which is like, these guys are all professionals. This is like their jobs, but yet it's like their vacation too. And so I think that's what that highlighted to me is like, this is what they do for fun. This is what they do for work. And I think they've struck a nice balance between work and play.
Right. And to talk about like kind of some of the techniques that you see kind of like filmmaking kind of like going back to, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was some like actual traditional like videotape being shot in that, like taking it even further back to like Super 8, like 90s, like they all of a sudden, you'd be in it like at a 4K, Gimbal God shot, and all of a sudden you'd have the shot from behind him that was an 8mm 1990s like Panasonic, something. Right. And I thought, well, that's new. That's somewhere in between the 16 and the. I'm
waiting for someone to make an iPhone movie. Marchi.
It's already happened.
Cool.
It's already happened.
Who made that?
Dude, like Gesme put out a whole like iPhone edit. It was like 3 years of his. I mean, I think it was Tommy Gesme. One of those, or no, one of those Midwest crews, and we talked about this a little while ago. Just it's not necessarily the tool.
Right.
But the other thing that I would just want before we move on, which I thought was interesting, as I was like looking through the credits or whatever, all of a sudden like Matroni's name popped up, and I was like, Matroni shredding, and it was like music by Luke Matroni, and a name that we just haven't seen around the snowboard industry for a while.
What happened to Luke Matroni?
From what I remember, I think it was maybe in New Zealand. He did he had that double flip in the pipe, and I think he knocked himself pretty good, and he was down there for a while recovering. And I'm not sure what
CTE type thing.
Yeah, maybe like a brain injury or just getting knocked.
I tell you what, man, I think that's more common today than ever.
Sure.
I mean, the level of riding is so high now that it's almost inevitable that you're going to get concussed.
Sure.
At some point in riding.
Sure, it's a pretty scary thing that you have that you get knocked so far out that you end up having to give up the sport. Or I don't know if he has, but he most certainly changed a little bit of a direction in a creative way.
Right.
And I noticed like all the songs were like they were produced by Luke, and
it sounded like professional.
They did. They did.
They were professional.
I think those Friends guys have always been into music, and I think I roll my eyes every time that Jack Matroni pulls a guitar onto a screen while he's like, excuse me, he's announcing like a U.S. Open or something. You're like, dude, just put the guitar down. Please don't.
Yeah.
But I was impressed by Luke's music, which is cool. So anyways, but that was a really fun one. These dudes have a fun time at their resort.
Yeah, that was a cool video. And you know what? That brings up another point, actually. Well, we should get off videos here pretty soon. Sure. But here's one other point I want to make, which is like with this just the abundance of free, amazing video, by the way. It's like, what's going to happen to the paid snowboard videos, the Absinthes, the Betas, the Kamikazes? Like, what's going to happen to these movies that you're actually supposed to buy? Because it's like, hey, I saw The Future of Yesterday. I saw the Untitled movie by Torstein. I saw a couple of great jib edits. There was like the Volcom video, Kabusta Gondola. Yeah. I mean, there was all sorts of like great free content out there. And so, like, who is like now buying videos after seeing all these free videos? Dude. Right, and also, what does that say about the riders who dedicate their whole year to a video when, like, basically there's a whole different group of riders who are putting out content for free?
But what does it say about a rider who dedicates his whole season to putting together, like, an edit, and you look on some of these ones and you're like, 8,000 views on Vimeo. What is that?
Right.
What does that
that's the craziest part to me is like I watched the videos, got all stoked, and then I was like, well, let's check the views.
Yeah.
Right? Let's check the views. And to me, it was kind of crazy that these videos that like so much effort and like a whole season was dedicated, you were getting like 10,000 views.
Crazy.
Which is like, that's like, like a small, I don't know. It's not a lot of views basically for the sport of snowboarding, I would say.
Totally. You know what? There's another kind of edit out there too, and I think it's an interesting one. It's almost like everybody gets together and they spend like 2 days just riding something over and over and over and over, and making a video out of it. And we saw one of those this week with just like the Bogus Project, which I thought was one of those relatable films that was pretty fun.
Right. It was kind of like along the lines of RK1 in that they were riding a resort park.
Sure.
Which is like, okay, I can go ride park at resort. Yeah, I can see doing that.
And it wasn't like anything like overly crazy at all, but the setup was kind of like, it looked really fun. Like the follow cams through it, you have like six or seven different hits, and you're following like this person on this like fun run. And I think it was relatable, which I actually really enjoyed the edit that came out from Sean Lucy, which just kind of highlighted Bogus.
Right, like the bent metal binding edit from Bogus Basin, right?
Yep, and the crew.
Like the Boise crew, Maiden Boise crew.
Yeah, the Maiden Boise crew, the Corey Mack and those guys down there.
That's
Derek
cool.
Weimer, who's a Boise guy, who's a snowboarder filmer.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool edit too. And that just like related like everyday snowboarding, which is like, oh yeah, that's what I do.
Right.
I don't do triple cork 14s.
Right.
I go, jib the fun box. I go, try to slide the rail and make a full pull. I try to, do a backside 360. Like those, that's like in my realm of possibility. Not like, okay, first I'm gonna like tuck for like 300 yards, and then I'm gonna go right between these two trees, and then launch 200 feet into the air into 6 feet of powder.
But in terms of like, we can spend another minute on this, but like, in terms of like filming something, like that's a whole nother thing. Like spend 2 days in a really tight environment with a lot of people that are just amping each other up and just bang, 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 get awesome shots and put out a thing that gets equally as many hits.
That's almost like a new take.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think it's a new take. I think it's happened, but it's like most certainly another type of doing it. Like, like Weimer put out an edit on it, Derek, like back in February, and it had like 10,000 hits, and that one is really, if you look at that one, like that one is awesome. Like,
and didn't dedicate a whole season to it either.
Right, he dedicated 2 days, spent a couple days in the pain cave, like at his house, putting some awesome music to awesome shots that he knew of right away and put it out there, And so there's another kind of, if we're talking about like the death of movies or like, the films,
it
like,
might be.
It might be like really.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that guy that just goes, you know what? You're going to get pictures on Instagram, and that's all you're going to get, and you're going to get my season edit at the end of the year.
Ooh, that would be a very bold move.
And I'm going to do a film tour with it, and you're going to have to see it in the theater.
Right. I mean, that's like a Travis Rice kind of power move.
That's like a Travis Rice move. Or maybe the industry as a whole just says, like, let's do that and let's leave everybody else.
I don't think the industry as a whole does anything.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else do we have to talk about today? There's our whole wrap-up of videos. There was a lot.
Yeah, it is. All right. So some other things I was thinking about. Something kind of came across the Instagram, and I took some note. I saw that like Joey B, how you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Have you seen that guy's stuff, by the way?
I think I have.
You have.
I mean, obviously I have. If I do, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, I know.
A friend of mine, like I was living with my buddy Chris Erickson, who was he was like a junior designer for Smith, and he was like, dude, he would be like, how you doing? How you doing? He showed me this guy, and he was like, my crew is Ice Coast Kills Shit, and I was like, what is Ice Coast Kills Shit?
Was that his crew?
Yeah, that was like his New York crew. And
upstate New York.
Yeah, upstate New York. And I was like, what an interesting name.
They
for
had
a
powder,
crew.
by the way, in upstate New York this week. And
did they
Vermont.
really?
Yeah, they got a little fresh snow.
Well, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing, New York? I like how he does a trick and he's like, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Right, he tries to count how many times during the trick. Yeah,
which is kind of his
that's a new take on
that's
things.
That's a new take.
Yeah. I'd repeat something. It's like mumble rap.
Oh, it's he kind of has created a persona in snowboarding that's just like around this one thing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think he sells shirts or whatever. They sell shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, I guess my point being is like, I was just thinking about cool crews kind of across the U.S. And it's like, within like we just talked about like the Made in Boise crew down in Boise.
Yeah, there's crews everywhere all over the world.
The Lick the Cat crew. What are some other crews you can think of?
Oh man, I mean, I was a part of like different crews myself growing up. Like I was kind of a cursory member of the VTSP, just kind of on the sideline.
What is the VTSP?
Vermont Slope Posse. That's the godfather of, maybe all crews. Right, was Jeff Brushy's crew. Yeah.
Really?
Like in the late 80s.
No way.
Yeah, that part of the boarding house, Andy Coughlin's boarding house, their whole like crew of like shop guys like formed the VTSP. And then I was part of the Team Green crew. Which was like the guys from like southern, like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont. We were like a crew from there, and then part of the XLG Ghetto crew, which was like Nate Cole and Rowan Rogers and Dale Rayberg, and that was my crew in Colorado.
Okay,
so
let me ask you: back in the day when there were like crews, was it highly competitive, or were you guys like, yo, fuck that other crew? Did you ever get like that, or was everybody mostly just like they were like, hey, that's my posse, and
there were. I don't think there was really any competitive rivalry. There was like ARA, Cobras, VTSP. It was more how we identified, like we were the XLG ghettos. We were like the youngest kids in Breck at the time.
Oh, interesting.
And so that was our crew. And then the older guys were like the Cobras from Vail, or the ARA.
Right.
And so it was just like a way that we identified ourselves, I guess. And we, we were into like gangster rap music. So it was like our little like, I don't know. We weren't definitely not gangsters, but maybe we thought we were a little tougher than we were.
Right.
Yeah, maybe as teenagers. I'm not sure. I think we were pretty tough, though. We were really tough, actually.
I get that. Here in Sun Valley, we had the KSA.
Ooh, real thuggy part of Idaho here.
the Ketchum Snowboard Army.
Yeah,
I got to throw it out there.
Okay. Yeah. And what did you guys do as a crew? Did you guys like have a gang sign? What was your sign?
No, we didn't ever have a gang sign. No, but you know what? We organized and kind of like as a crew, we were able to come together and like, hey, we were able to like mobilize and come up with like cool events where everybody was like on board with it. You know,
right.
If you were part of the KSA, you got that tap on the shoulder. If you got that sticker or that, the patch or like the hoodie, the black hoodie with a number, like you were part of something, and I thought that was cool. And I think maybe that is the joy of having a crew.
Right. So maybe like email us or tag us with your crew, and so we'll shout out your crew next week.
Ooh.
Why don't we do a crew shout out? So if you have a crew, tag the Snowboard Project on Instagram or on Facebook, and we will try to shout you out.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Let's
shout out some crews.
Yeah, and be sure to put where you're from. So
where your crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're from, Ottawa.
Or Oman.
Yeah, there might be a crew that,
I've been checking. We have listeners now all over the world, Beav. I've been checking our little statistics. Oman, UAE.
Get out of here.
Oh, yeah, dude. We have Lithuania, Brazil, Colombia, the home of cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah, we have listeners in Colombia, the country.
Interesting.
All over, strange places, too, where you wouldn't think snowboarders would live and breed, but they do.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, so this week I went up and... We figured We'd do something a little different. You were there.
Yeah.
We kind of came up with this idea.
Part of our riding on the mountain.
Yeah.
How do we make this even more interesting than it already is on this one trail?
Right. So I'm going to play a little game right now.
Okay.
And it's a play-along game, and we're going to test this out. Maybe it'll fall flat on its face.
Give listeners at home a couple of seconds.
Exactly. So what this is we're going to play a little sounds from the field trivia.
Ooh.
And what I mean by sounds from the field is... sounds from the actual ski hill.
Okay.
All right. So are you ready for this, Mark? Because I recorded some sounds, and hopefully I'm going to stump you with these sounds.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Okay. First sound.
Here we go.
Okay.
Do you know it?
That sounds like my pass getting scanned. That's what I would go with, my pass getting scanned.
Okay, we're going easy to hard. That was an easy one.
Okay. That was pretty easy. I hear that all the time.
That was your pass getting scanned.
I just heard that 4 days in a row, maybe 5 in a row today.
Okay.
Later this afternoon.
Okay, here's the next sound. Coming at you right.
Oh, I know that sound too.
You know that sound.
That's your pass getting scanned.
That is my lack of a pass getting scanned.
Yes. That was last year's pass getting scanned.
That was last year's. That was me trying to go through the line with last year's pass.
It doesn't always work very well.
Right, but you know what gets me always past?
What?
I'm part of the media, and this is a microphone.
Right.
Ways that you can get on the hill. So, that was, of course, your pass getting denied.
Right.
Or the visual sound of Mark Sullivan's Tinder account.
What?
That's
not even fair.
That was unfair.
That's not even fair.
I had to say it. Okay, all right. Let's hear the next sound. Here it comes. You ready?
My Tinder doesn't have sound effects.
Ooh, what is the sound, Mark? You've heard it.
Think about this.
I know you've heard it. You've been close to this sound.
Oh, that's the sound in the bathroom when someone drinks too many IPAs.
Wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that sound?
That is actually
what that sound is?
A deep ultrasound of Jake Burton Carpenter's heartbeat.
Whoa. How did you get that sound? He was in Sun Valley? I missed him?
I paid off TMZ, bro.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
That's not what that sound is. What is that sound?
No, that sound is actually the sound of you leaving the terminal at a lift.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Like rolling the lift, like going over the rollers, basically. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's okay. Here's the next sound. You ready for this?
Ready
for this?
If you're using people for human slalom poles, then we'll stop.
Here it comes again.
If you're using people for human slalom poles, then we'll
It's a guy saying if you're using people as human slalom poles. Trick question, Beef. I'm a snowboarder. I don't use slalom poles.
If you use human as bank slalom poles.
Oh, bank slalom. Okay.
Trick question again. Bank slaloms don't use poles.
That's right. So anyhow, doesn't apply to me.
Doesn't apply to me.
Doesn't
just
apply
some
to
guy
me.
saying something that doesn't apply to me.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
guy was probably wearing some official uniform at the ski hill.
Yeah, he was.
And I go to the snowboard hill.
Yeah.
Two different places.
Two different
entirely.
places.
Just ask Lindsey Vonn.
Whoa, that is harsh. That is so harsh.
That's
Lindsay,
what I thought when she said it the first time.
You and Lindsay matched on Tinder over.
No, I swiped left.
Oh.
Yes.
Is that the direction when you deny? I don't know these things.
Yeah, I do know. And you swipe left to deny, right to accept.
Here's the next sound right now. What is...
Oh, that's obvious.
Oh, is it, Mark? Really obvious? Here, one more time.
Okay. That is the creaking of the front door of the base lodge. Because
that is exactly what it is.
Exactly. I hear it like every day I go in there.
The left door at the River Run Base Lodge.
Yeah. See?
Everybody.
I mean, maybe a little WD-40. There's
Right.
a hardware store here in town.
Wow.
Maybe we should do that. We'll just take it upon ourselves to WD-40 the door.
I really thought that I would get you on that one. I was like, he'll never get this sound. But I guess when you're standing there in that like cold entry and it just amplifies through there and that squeak happens on the left side.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah,
it's so obvious.
It's so obvious.
Yeah. So Sun Valley, we're just giving you the heads up. The left side at the River Run Base Lodge might need a little WD-40. Okay, moving on.
Hey! Yeah. Sorry, we're going great, man. I'm sorry. Like, look at all the other people. Hey!
Playing it again.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that's not even like really fair because I hear that like almost every day I go riding. That's getting pulled over by ski patrol.
That is getting pulled over by ski patrol. And I was just like, I was going down the hill and I was like, when am I going to get one of those like just awesome moments? And from out of the left side comes this like kid just flying on a pair of race skis past me, and I'm in a slow zone, I'm just doing my job here.
Right.
And then ski patrol was on his shit right behind him, like, you do not know. And when there's one run on the mountain and there's 50 or 500 people on that run,
They don't take speeding lightly.
No, they do not.
Right.
And he came firing, and I sat there.
I'm glad that the ski patrol pulled over skier. Normally, they only target snowboarders.
Right, yeah. And I sat there like inconspicuously like 8 feet away, just like... This kid is in so much.
And you're like, I can't believe I'm recording this right now.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Okay, here's
one
another
last sound.
Here's another sound here.
It sounds like bindings.
Oh, it does sound like bindings.
Yes.
Okay, that's definitely not bindings. That's someone taking off their ski boots.
Wrong.
Wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. She just
that relief.
Yes.
Yes, it's almost like post-coital.
Yeah, let's hear that again. Oh, wait, whoops.
We
Next
have one
sound.
more sound.
Oops. I forgot this sound.
Loves it.
What did she say right there?
She said she loves it.
Okay, that is a kid being forced to ski and not snowboard. Right?
That is
like, am I
absolutely a child being forced to ski and her parent going like, no, she loves it.
Right, she doesn't love it.
She loves this. She hates this.
No, she could be a snowboarder right now. You are wasting your life on skis.
All right, moving on. Thank
Okay.
you for joining us for our first ever Sounds from the Field.
Yeah, we might do some more of that.
We should
here
do
in the
that.
future.
It was actually kind of fun. Just like
Right.
it's interesting when you have headphones on and all you can hear are the sounds of the ski hill. You
Right.
start laughing because you realize there's so many weird sounds around you. all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
So
we should do some more of that. Maybe like even like riding interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we started recording in the gondola. We started on the hill. I mean, we could record anywhere, I think.
Right. You know what? I actually recorded a kind of, and I think it was kind of fun. I recorded an interview with a couple of snowboarders, a couple of young snowboarders, which I thought was kind of funny.
Maybe we should listen to that.
Yeah, should we go ahead and let's just play it for
So
them
these
right
are
now.
like recreational snowboards. How old are these guys?
These guys are probably like, gosh, how old are they? I think they're like 13 or 14. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Just
All right,
in the
let's
thick
just-
of puberty.
Yeah, let's just roll into it and they can
Okay.
hear the whole episode right now.
Have you ever had a skier yell at you just for being a snowboarder?
Yeah. One time at Nationals, I was going too fast. And this old grandpa hit me with his pole. I got pretty mad about that.
And I like sprayed a dude, and he wasn't happy, so he was chasing me down and said snowboarders are not the best. He gave a little bit more words, but you know.
Right, he used some of those profane 4-letter words. Yeah, I know how that goes. I've been there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What are your goals for the season this winter?
I want to get frontside and backside 5s, and then I want to do a Mick twist in the pipe.
Okay, all right. Those are good goals. What are your goals?
I want to learn crippler, corks, and every 9.
And get a girlfriend.
Yeah, and not get out of the friend zone.
Yeah, that.
And get out of the friend zone. Okay, so what's your plan of attack for getting out of the friend zone?
If I knew that, I'd be out of it already. I don't know. I just gotta take it by year.
Maybe you need to learn to dance or like bake or something, you know?
I can make cookies. I just need a recipe, but
He is not a good dancer.
I'm not a bad dancer.
You're not good at dancing.
I'm not a bad dancer. Okay, I'm not the best dancer, but we can work on it.
Okay, Jack's gonna work on his dancing. Caleb's gonna work on his.
Get out of the friend zone. I don't really know how to get out of the friend zone. If I did.
Because you've never been in the friend zone.
No, never in the friend zone.
Okay, you'll get there.
Never talked
It's
to
okay.
a girl besides his sister.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry, I'm joking. I'm playing.
Wow, these are 2 friends, 2 snowboarders having a good time. All right, Beav on the street out.
The friend zone, huh, Beav? Hey, when did you get out of the friend zone, Beav?
Are you asking me when I got out of the friend
when
zone?
did you get out of the friend zone? Because you're giving advice about getting out of the friend zone.
Right.
So obviously you have some expertise of not only being in the friend zone, but also leaving the friend zone.
Right.
Yes.
I was 31 when I finally left the friend zone.
Oh, that took some time.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, how did you get out of the friend zone?
I learned both 9s.
That got you out of the friend zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned all 9s, every direction, every way, and I learned to bake cookies and dance.
Oh, those are the 3 secrets. That's the advice you gave to those kids.
That's
so
exactly what I told them.
Obviously, some expert advice coming from the Beav.
Exactly.
Okay. That was pretty fun, though.
Hey, what's up, Snowboard Project listeners? I know you're probably sitting on the couch or in the car or somewhere with another friend of yours who is also a snowboarder who is sitting there scrolling on his phone, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and he has no idea what a podcast is. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the challenge. You need to walk over to your friend, grab his phone, scroll down and find that little purple podcast button that he has no idea has never opened, and I want you to press it. And you are going to do him the biggest favor of his life right now. You are going to subscribe him or her to the Snowboard Project. And then you're going to rate us 5 stars and you're going to throw him his phone back and say, "You're welcome." They get to listen every week to 3 different stories, a couple from, other snowboarders just like them, or maybe an industry person that will give them the great information they want to know about design, or maybe about, marketing themselves, or maybe about just snowboarding and being a competitive snowboarder. And you're also going to get news, and news that's not just past the, next 180 or the 1620. You are going to hear things about the adventure, the friendship, and you are going to hear about the experiences of doing what you love, which is snowboarding. Hit the purple button, subscribe him, rate us, hand the phone back and say, "You're welcome." Okay, some real industry news here.
Okay, what's going on in the snowboard industry?
I think that we could talk about this because in the news this week came across Tamarack Resort, which is a resort that is pretty close to us. It's up in McCall, Idaho. Which about around the turn of the recession went under, and they left this place just. I mean, it was
like real estate play resort, brand new resort, installed all brand new lifts, and then just started slapping together trailside condos and houses and that kind of thing.
Not even condos. I mean, like McMansions on the side of the slopes. Yeah, and so full disclosure, I'd never been up there till this summer, and I decided I'd just go drive through. This place is like this gorgeous setting of a mountain, and they have all these slope side houses that go halfway up the hill. You can drive all the way to the top of them, and then there's just like this whole base area that's just like completely unfinished, like Tyvek still slapped on the side of it. It's kind of sad actually, because I remember Tamarack being this just like amazing idea of a ski hill. They even had I believe they had a couple of USSA what am I saying? You announce all of them. God, the
Grand Prix.
Yeah, they even had a couple Grand Prix there. You know, it was like sick. There's a mountain that's doing it, and then all of a sudden it just like it went under. The head guy like fled the country and left it just completely fucked.
And so at least it's going to come back now, and they're going to be able to get some of the money out of their investment in their real estate, because that's what the thing was, real estate.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but I mean, some good things that I saw was basically they're going to put up, they got a new terrain park guy, so they're going to do a terrain park up there, and they're going to do, and I thought this was really cool, they're going to do free programs for newcomers to come to learn to ski or board.
Okay, say that again so everyone listens to this.
They are going to give free programs for newcomers to come to learn to ski or board.
Now that is a good idea.
Right.
And that is like one of the best ideas I've heard actually in a long time. I was like, where are you going with this Tamarack thing? Who cares about real estate?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I don't either.
I can't afford it.
But I thought that was interesting. I thought, like, you know.
No, but they're going to actually allow people to ski and snowboard for free, teach them how to ride for free.
I think if they're a newcomer, because they want to introduce people to their resort and make it inclusive, which I think we've seen a trend in the other direction in the ski and snowboard industry.
Right. It's gotten so expensive, it's priced people out of the market, I would say.
Right.
To a large degree, anyway.
So that's pretty core of a resort to make that kind of a statement. That they're going to do that, because from what I traditionally hear is that Tamarack kind of came in and were like, we're going to make this place so exclusive and cool, and they kind of forced all the locals that were just kind of the run-of-your-mill like guy that just lives in town, they couldn't go up and ride.
Yeah.
They had like all these, it was crazy. So
interesting. So that's, I guess, good news.
That is good news. That's good news.
I'll count that as good news.
Right.
For sure. Okay. So that's pretty cool.
Anything else come across your beat this week in kind of like week of snowboarding?
You know, to me, the biggest news this week were just like all the edits that came out, and then going riding. I rode 4 days in a row. I'm gonna maybe get a couple runs in this afternoon,
right?
Because I have a pass here. So we're in snowboard season, and that's the thing that I'm most stoked on. Is that we're actually railing some turns, hitting, they had this little fun, it was like a propane tank obstacle, hit that a couple times, little jump, did a couple methods. I'm still breaking in my boots, and so they're like, talk about the ugliest method ever. That's the one I did yesterday.
I saw it. It was pretty ugly.
It was. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm not claiming that thing. No, I was just trying to when no one was looking. Apparently you were looking.
I was looking,
but I was hoping no one was looking.
Whatever happened to the suitcase method?
I don't know. I think people still do them.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they? All right.
So, I'm sure there's other stuff we could talk about. Maybe we should go
let's roll into trivia.
Yeah, let's do trivia.
Let's do some trivia. We got some trivia. Before we go into trivia, let's do the giveaway.
Are we going to give that away? Did you get 50 entries?
I didn't get 50, but I got like 25.
Well, maybe we should wait another week for 25 more. I mean, sharing it is the deal. We're trying to grow this organically.
All right. So this week I tried to give something away, and I was really hoping that like 40 or 50 people would like share the post. And I thought that's not unreasonable to think of. But
share the post, share an episode.
Excuse me, share an episode. So here's what I had. A 1990 gyrator, K2 gyrator. HP with a pirate radio sticker. I mean, it's pretty cherry, and I was like, somebody's gonna want this, that they'll share an episode and they'll tag us in it, and we will and basically the idea is, hey, help us grow this thing, right? And like help us get I was reading something about podcasts. It's just like, the best way to get something out there is by word of mouth, using your audience to get things out to their audience, and if you my ask was, if you like an episode, share it with your friends, and you'll be entered into this giveaway for this K2 gyrator, and we'll send it to you. I'll even pay the shipping for it.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you basically get this free cool board that you can ride on Gaper Day or put on the wall or, I don't know, burn to the snow gods, whatever you want it. Let's hope you don't do that.
Yeah, I know. You should not burn that board. That's a sweet board.
We will. Yeah, you know what? We can wait another week on that. But, there were like 20 or 25 people that shared an episode.
Let's wait one more week. Let's see who will share an episode of the Snowboard Project. You can steal one of our images, our illustrations of the person in that snowboard project. They're all posted on Instagram. Yep. We also post them on our Facebook page, and I post them other places too.
Speaking of, and we'll just hey, you know what? Help us out. Repost. This giveaway is going to happen, and I guess Mark, now we got to do it next week, right?
Yeah, we got to do it next week.
Okay. Speaking of those the cool portraits.
Yeah.
This week has a really pretty cool one, I think. Who do we have this week?
Okay, so we have two. We have DCP, and then we have Kurt Heine.
Right.
Yes.
And Heine's was really the one that I was like...
Yeah, so he was like a straight-up metalhead in high school.
Was he really?
Yeah, like gel, hairspray, frosted tips. He talks about it in the interview.
Okay.
Spandex.
I can see that because Heine and I have been friends on Facebook for a number of years, and I follow some of the stuff, and I just see him at like Metallica concerts. Like,
oh yeah,
this is
Slayer,
crazy.
Metallica.
Slayer, yeah,
he's always at concerts.
He's okay.
He's got a good interview. I listened to it this morning actually, just to review, and yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, he has so much experience. He helped, get Peter Line out there,
Sure.
Todd Schlosser,
Sure.
Dave Lee. I think he filmed with Terry Kiedis. He's filmed with all sorts of pros. He was like the Mack Dawg filmer, and then he had his own film company.
Right.
We talk about all sorts of stuff.
Pretty
Cool
much
interview.
a legend in filming.
Yeah, totally.
And in snowboarding. He had a pretty good career.
Yeah, he had
in
a pro
snowboarding,
career
right?
too,
Yeah.
Kemper Pro.
He did.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one of those old Kemper boards that I love, and every once in a while I see Heine post up a picture where he's on that same board, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my Gaper Day board,
Nice.
Yeah.
Now that you don't have the K2 to fall back on.
Well, here's the thing: the K2 gyrator was made in the Connolly water ski factory because
Ooh.
back when K2 started making snowboards, they didn't have the ability to do it apparently.
Yeah.
And so the core of that board is like it's actually like the inside of a water ski rather than like a wood core.
Okay,
And
it's
so
foam.
I'm a heavy kid, so I have never ridden that board because
Okay.
I've always felt like I'm going to come down and just snap that thing. So it's usually
Sure.
a friend of mine that's like, yo, you got a board? And I'm like, I throw it out to him, and then they get this sweet gyrator for the day.
Nice. Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll give that away next week. Share an
Yep.
episode.
Yep.
Whichever one you like, tell your friends. Just help us grow this thing.
Yep.
Let's go into trivia, Beeve.
All right, let's do trivia. Trivia this week, this last week was all about Super Park.
Okay, good. I was
Yeah.
at Super Park a number of times.
You were, and you were
Actually
kind of
ran it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. We
Yeah.
we know that because you talked about it last week. You want to
I
talk more
know.
about yourself?
Yeah, let's talk all about me.
Let's not talk all about you. Anyways, trivia, Super Park trivia.
Yes. Okay. First question. What do we got here?
What year did Travis Rice first get into Super Park?
Okay, I
What year was
believe that year was 2001.
Yes.
And it was at Breckenridge. And
No, it was a Mammoth.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
I was there.
Really?
Yes. I think.
No, I think it was Mammoth, bro.
I think it was the first Cutters Cup.
I only say
At
Mammoth.
Breck.
I only say Mammoth because I think that was his standout breakout.
Nope. It was the Whistler feature from the Cutters
Okay.
Cup.
All right.
It was a gap. There was like a cat width trough cut out in the middle of this like hip, so he had to jump over the cat width.
Okay.
And he ended up straight backside rodeoing 120 feet, and it was mind numbing.
So that was the trick that set him apart. Was
Yeah,
that?
back rodeo over this like gap hip, but it actually that was like the first 40 feet was like the gap or whatever. He
Right.
went 120,
Right.
so he like tripled the size of the air.
I remember just looking at that whole spread in that Super Park edition and just being like, wow, Travis got like 7 of the 15 pages.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's crazy. Because Travis obviously grew up in the Intermountain kind of division with all of us.
Did you compete against Travis Rice?
I did compete against Travis Rice.
Did you ever
actually.
beat Travis Rice?
Travis Rice actually ruined my pro career.
What do you mean?
In border cross, yeah. I was at regionals in Mammoth, and I think I had qualified first fastest and won every single one of my heats. And here I am in the gate of like semifinals, right? Like
Right.
I'm going to the finals. I'm killing everybody, and I had been getting the whole shot and taking everybody in the first turn, and it was like I look in the gate and it was like me, Wyatt Caldwell, Travis Rice, and at that time I think there were 6 across. So
Yeah.
there were like
I think
3
they're going
more.
back to 6 across.
Yeah, it was wild, and I remember just being like, oh, I'm just gonna totally rule this one. And the first turn, Travis hits me from behind in my tail, and I skid off and go flying over the first berm. And I remember flying through the air over the freaking berm, and I hit a tree dead center in the middle of my snowboard.
Oh.
And fell to the ground, and that was the end of my hopes to make it to nationals, which would have resulted in a career in border cross.
Right.
Thank you, Travis, for just ruining my.
Wow.
my
Well, at least you and Travis have something in common.
What's that?
I don't know. You both raced border cross.
We both raced border cross.
Tried to make it to
as
nationals.
Kids.
Okay.
Anyways, the trick that set him apart was a backside rodeo on the super booter, the hip tabletop, 127 foot. And that was monstrous. And that video, that Rozzy video that came out in, I remember. Just
he was on Rozzy back then.
Yeah, he was.
It was actually a couple of years before LibTech.
Right.
He rode for Rozzy for a number of years.
He was actually living out in Mammoth that year with all of us, and I remember after that happened, we never saw Travis again. He just went. I think it was like
Hostenik.
Yeah,
Hostenik basically like tapped me on the shoulder. I think I was running Super Park then, and he was like, "Hey, this kid, grew up at Jackson Hole. His dad's a ski patroller. He's got it."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, let him in."
Right.
I was like the gatekeeper.
And Hostenik then was like, "You're coming with me to Alaska," and took him to Alaska for like a month after that.
And then
after that happened,
the rest is history.
Yeah, we never saw him again.
Yeah.
I think he got shipped like 15 boards, and they just sat at the house until all of us took him and went and rode him.
Nice.
And we never gave him back.
Right.
Anyways, okay, back to Super Park trivia.
Yeah.
After a long waylay, how long did the Cutters Cup last? And the Cutters Cup was a spin-off.
Right. The Cutters Cup was just like a kind of a version of Super Park. And so we did Super Park. It was always about this photo shoot, and the athletes would show up, and all our senior photographers at Snowboarder magazine, which I was running at the time, would show up and they'd take photos. Then we'd make a big feature, an editorial feature. And really, Super Park was really kind of one of the things that helped promote park riding in the very beginning of snowboard parks.
Right.
And so the idea was to gain exposure for the idea of manufactured terrain, which actually didn't really exist prior to that.
Sure.
And so the Cutters Cup was basically an event that instead of like just featuring the athletes, it was about a competition between park crews, because now, like, fast forward like 7 years or something into Super Park, and now parks are actually like pretty commonplace, and so now it's like, okay, who's the best park in the world? So it was basically a competition amongst park builders.
All right.
And so we had like prize money. I think Honda sponsored it the first year and gave us like $10,000 to give away. We made actually a movie, Super Park movie.
Right.
And it was a pretty cool event. And I think Breck won the first one and maybe the second one too.
Huh.
Elliot Cohen still building like the X Games terrain features. He was a snow park tech guy.
Who were some of the kind of standout builders? Was it like Cohn and like who else? Like Rosie, was he there?
Rosenwald may have been there one year.
Pete Colombo, maybe from
Pete
Mammoth.
Colombo. There was Dave Franzen, and he built the first C box that premiered at Super Park, and that was like the most hit obstacle. It was funny because people would take different approaches. Some people would build these like monster hits that were like you were just intimidated to hit, right?
Right.
And then other people would build something that was fun that everyone could ride. And certainly I would say the biggest success was like the first C-Rail coming out of that first Cutters Cup.
Right.
So the way it worked is like each cat driver would get 30 hours in a snowcat, and then they would get like one night in the welding shop to build a rail.
Oh,
so they build one rail and then build whatever they could build with 30 hours in a cat.
They were literally building rails on site.
On site, yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't bring anything there. It was like you get 12 hours, I think, in the welding shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like Top Chef or something. Like
this is long before Top Chef.
Yeah,
beef.
so you were revolutionary in that idea.
I don't know about that, but
all
it was
right.
fun.
So how long did it last?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, and then it kind of went on with like different park builders coming, but it wasn't so much a competition for the park builders. It was more back to the let's feature the riders.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. The spinoff for Super Park. The spinoff of Super Park for kids. What was that called?
The Launch, and that's still happening now.
Right.
Yeah. So like kids, you might not be like pro enough, let's say, to go to the real Super Park. So, but you might get invited to the Launch, and that's like 16, 17-year-old kids. And pretty cool little event right there, and they kind of do a separate feature on that.
Who were some of the kids that kind of came up through that a little bit? With like, I think I remember seeing like Red Gerard.
I would guess years. Red Gerard. Yeah. Basically, like kids who are now like 18 to 20, pretty much came through the Launch.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. That's cool that was an element that you guys implemented for bringing younger kids into the fold of that.
I think that was all Bridges. I think that was
Bridges.
Idea. Yeah, that was Bridges for sure.
Sick. Okay, where was the first Super Park held?
First Super Park was held in Squaw Valley.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and so I don't even think they really allowed snowboarding all over the mountain. They like had it like in one little section of the mountain.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Did you go to that first one?
I did not.
You
That
did
was
not.
like I was like in college maybe, or trying to be
okay.
a pro rider
Okay.
in Breckenridge at that point, and did not get invited.
Clearly not pro enough.
Not pro enough. No, but I don't think any of my crew, the XLG Ghetto crew,
Sure.
like Dale Rayberg and Roland Rogers, those guys didn't get invited
Right.
either, and they were definitely more qualified than me at that point.
Right. What year was that they did
That was 1993.
93.
Spring
in
of 1993. And I think Sean Sullivan, photographer, senior photographer
Okay.
for the magazine, kind of had that idea. And it's like, hey, we should do a big photo shoot. I'll get all the pros to show up. We'll call it Super Park. It's like Snowboard Park, only
No way.
super.
Is that so? It was Sean Sullivan's idea then?
Yeah,
huh?
I think so, actually.
Wow.
Initially, yeah. And then it became like
Is
kind
Sean
of like
is Sean your cool older brother?
No, I got asked that for years, actually. I'm not related to Sean Sullivan. I will not claim that. No.
Okay.
I'm not going to go any deeper than that.
All right.
Not related.
Hey, what's up, all you Snowboard Project listeners? A lot of you know and some of you don't, but we just sent out our sticker packs to all our supporters on Patreon just in time for you to slap a sticker on your new board. You sponsor us, and we're going to give you so much great content just about real life in snowboarding. But hey, if you haven't checked out patreon.com/The Snowboard Project, you can sponsor us and help us keep bringing you all this great content. We are talking about so much this month. We are talking about snowboarding, bottom line. 2, we are talking about life experiences through snowboarding. We have a weekly news show, and we just bullshit and keep it real in the snowboard industry. We are talking not just about tricks. This is bigger than that. This is about experiencing snowboarding for what it is, the adventure, the friendships, the progression on the mountain and off the mountain in life, following your passion in whatever aspect of snowboarding you happen to love. This podcast is snowboarding and making the most of every single day in snowboarding. So please visit us on patreon.com/The Snowboard Project and help us keep bringing you all these great stories from snowboarders just like you. Okay, let's move on to some trivia for this week.
Okay,
for you
new
guys.
trivia. Let's do it.
We kind of had a theme of like snowboarding in the mainstream or washed up snowboarding in the mainstream.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's washed up now, Beav?
Okay, what? Who's washed up now? No. Okay,
That should be a new segment that we do.
who's washed up
Look
now?
who's washed up now.
Right. Yeah. Some like current pro
okay.
that just turned 22. Like,
I mean, that actually
it's
happens.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to hold on to that career.
it absolutely is. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. Okay, so washed up snowboarding in the mainstream.
Okay.
What year did Cool Boarders come out?
Ooh.
Do you remember that? Cool
I do. It
Boarders?
was a video game. So I
Yeah.
actually went on this. They were making like an ad for TV because it was like promoted. This is
Okay.
like when video games were getting like they had ads on TV or whatever. And I got
Right.
flown. My very first trip to Alaska was like right when I started at Snowboarder, and basically we got flown on like a ski plane up to a mountain, and we watched them film this commercial in snow. There was no hill; it was like a flat glacier.
No
we
way.
flew up and stood on the snow all day, and like these like LA actor guys were like, "Whoa, dude, sick!" Right? And it was like this full like TV commercial that was just like super bro broad out, but it was cool. First trip to Alaska.
I just can't even imagine. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You got a trip to Alaska to go see that.
To go watch them film a TV commercial. They were like, "Oh well, we're spending like all this money on this. Let's fly in some editors."
Wow.
And we did like a little sidebar maybe in the magazine or something, and
was
then they
good.
bought a bunch of ads for the thing in the magazine.
It was good to be an editor back then, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so the question was, what year did Cool Boarders come out?
Okay.
And then kind of a follow-up question to
Okay.
that was, name 2 riders that were featured throughout the years in Cool Boarders, and there were a
Right.
bunch of them.
Yeah, there was like a series of Cool Boarders games, so they must have been pretty popular.
There were a couple even like less popular riders I remember being in that game, like that were just like. I mean, I think
name one of the less popular.
No,
riders.
I'm not going to do that because
Okay.
this is the question.
trivia question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I might be wrong. I might be
Okay.
wrong.
The most obscure rider though will rise to the top. If
Right.
you name like someone who's super obscure who was
Yeah.
in that,
Yep.
that gets extra points.
Right, totally. And then name the pro snowboarder that was in the movie Out Cold. I know you know it.
I do know it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's washed up or not.
Oh, dude.
Well, you're the one who called this washed up
Yeah,
trivia.
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, that was unfair.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what he didn't do.
What didn't he do?
Stick his dick in a hot tub jet.
Ooh. No, that was Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, that was Zach Galifianakis. Yeah.
But he was in that. That would have been one of his first movies.
It might have been. It might have been.
That was a good movie.
That was like the standout moment in that movie. Where
it wasn't as good as Hot Dog the movie, but it was pretty good.
What about Hot Tub Time Machine?
Ooh, that was okay too. That was pretty good. I don't know which one I liked better, Out Cold or Hot Tub Time Machine.
I kind of liked them both.
Yeah, they were both pretty good.
Out Cold's still classic to watch every once in a while. You're like, yes, we should watch Out Cold.
Like with the guy with like the tube at the top. You're gonna have to learn how to ride when they had the big race at the end or whatever.
We actually had a movie night this last year at the end, and we watched Out Cold, which I thought was kind of fun.
There's a bunch of snowboarders in that movie, actually.
There are.
I think about it.
There are none that are. Yeah. Okay.
Anyhow, let's move on.
Okay. Here's one that's also in the vein of movies, and this one's a little more obscure, so we're going easy to harder.
Oh.
Name.
Are we going like from less washed up to more washed up?
This one's more washed up.
Okay.
What 2008 snowboard movie was filmed in Big White or Silver Star Resort?
Now this is like a movie, like a Hollywood movie.
This is like a Hollywood
video,
movie,
not like a Mack Dawg
2008 snowboard specific movie.
Ooh, okay.
And then there's a follow-up question. What washed up comedian played one of the washed up snowboarders?
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's double. Is that like a double negative?
Yes.
Double washed up is like
double
not washed up at all?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
So again, that question was what 2008 snowboard movie was filmed in Big White and Silver Star resorts, which are obviously resorts that are in
Canada. Yes.
Yeah. Kind of just like straight north of like Idaho, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's a nice little area.
Have you been up there?
I've driven through.
You've driven through?
Yeah.
I guess we both drove through when we went to Alaska, right?
Exactly. Rossland.
Okay.
And, I forgot what that resort was called.
It is that's a
Big
beautiful
White,
area.
I think it's Kelowna, maybe.
Okay.
Anyhow, I'm not really sure.
Oh, Kelowna.
Maybe it's like closer to that.
Or Kamloops.
Kamloops or Kelowna. Some one of those beautiful central
there.
BC places that that I don't spend enough time at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Final thoughts?
Let's go riding, Beeve. Do you want to boot them up today?
We should boot it up today.
I'm going to boot it up, I think.
Boot them up.
Let's try to get this like episode out and then boot them up. Do we have time to do that?
I think we have time to do that.
Okay,
yeah,
let's
do that. So if you're listening, be sure to go out and snowboard. If there's powder, go out and get some POW. If you are not anywhere around a resort, go check out some of those films. Get stoked on snowboarding and be sure to make your way up to the mountain.
And also, please review us. Please rate us and review us, because it's like that's how also that helps us with our rating on the charts. And that's what we're trying to do, is grow this thing organically. And we have been growing, but we can always grow more. You know, I think our initial goal is like 0.1% of our potential audience of snowboarders listening to us, and we're not even close to that. We're not even at like 1/10,000th of 1% because there's a lot of snowboarders in the world. And we're doing good, but we're growing.
You know what? We're having a lot of fun, and that's all that matters, because we're just trying to put a little more fun in snowboarding.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of Real Talk. We'll see you on the slopes. Peace.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beeve, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.